Oh, it still says preparing the live stream. Well, all this means is that the worst case scenario is the stream opens with me talking about the stream taking time to open. All right. Oh my goodness, Jeannie, you are so funny. You just gonna start yelling as soon as it starts. That's the baby. The baby. Yeah, that's you, the little baby. Yeah, yeah. Look at you standing, holding on to your mama. Trying to figure out how to stand, little baby. All right, what's up, y'all? It's your boy Aniki coming at you with another My Hero Academia Church of MHA episode, season 4, episode 28. We probably got 2 to 3 episodes left. This actually, no, we probably get 4. We probably get 4. Good old 32er. Uh, maybe then I'll stop slacking and go reorganize this into a playlist like I used to. Whoops. Uh, but appreciate everybody that's here. Was going to stop by, give it a listen. Those of you in the VODs, I know some of you just throw it on and let it play in the background. Glad to be your good old background noise for you. Uh, oh Lord, what is happening with my? Get that. Oh my Lord! Now, see, now I'm just messing myself up here, just all over the places that I in my own stream, trying to see what's going on in the chat. All right, let's see. Let's see. Hey, okay, okay, my bad. Thank you, Andrew. Hey, Tyler, shit, happy birthday, bro. Uh, but yeah, appreciate everybody. Happy birthday to Tyler. Let me see. Solo Me's in the building, Tiger Blaster, the Madman, and Mr. Andrew talking about screaming. Thomas and MK the baby. Look, this ain't 2021. Billboard streams can't happen anymore. They were hard enough to get together back then. Sean Ross doesn't even make My Hero content anymore. One of the best, yeah, one of the best guys stepped out of the game and he did it quietly. I don't know how many of you actually know about the My Hero Billboard streams. Those are when we pull people through to talk about the past 6 months to year, the My Hero, but I don't think anybody's trying to do that this year. And I never could get the bigger name, so I was never that guy. Actually, let me get this microphone. It's annoying me. But yeah, let me see. I'm guessing Thomas or Coyote already did this, but I got to check the Discord anyway to make sure it's actually been posted. Yep, looks like Thomas is taking care of it, of course. Uh, but yeah, Billboard stream that's not happening. Uh, it will take somebody like a multitude of people probably approaching me about a Billboard stream, if I'm honest. Like people who actively want it to be on. Uh, what up, that one guy? So yeah, let me go ahead and get the chapter pulled up though, because the faster I get the chapter pulled up, the faster I can get to read it. Ooh, Akana Banashi has gotten the cover this week. That's nice. I really should go back and read that series. It was really good in the first like 8 chapters. And the fact that it's at 86 means I haven't read it in over a year. Whoops. All right, let's get this popping. Let's see. All right, we're getting the around the horn report. The riot at Central Hospital has been suppressed, currently transporting captives and providing triage for the wounded. All right, and we see Koda with his horn still sticking out and Shoji doing what they can, bloodied up. Let's see. Okuto Island is under control. The initial location of the Divide and Conquer mission is secure. The injured are being tended to. Oh, snap. Yeah, we see Invisible Girl actually wearing a jacket. So apparently she's going to just be mildly visible going forward. Or it's because it looks like she's still slashing plants and stuff by redirecting Aoyama's lasers. Um, let's see. And then we got Ryukyu. The battle at National Takoba Arena is ongoing. Mr. Skeptic has been captured, transporting him now. Hey, giving Shindo, and the dog professor. Let's see. The escape to Shiketsu via the evac system is complete. Heroes are mobilizing to safeguard the refugees from the stalled block. Let's see. We got Jack the Ripper and Koroyo. The Jakku Hospital ruins site is under control. And then the whereabouts of Kurogiri, Eraserhead, and Present Mike are unknown. And we get to the rooftop and we see Lady Nagant passing out on top of the roof. The full mobilization on our part hinges on our faith in Izuku Midoriya. And then we get this wide shot explosion. What speed? And we see just the boom from Bakugo just blowing. Man, getting that like from a distance shot, so you get like the bigger AoE encompassing of like how big of an attack it actually is, while also it damn near looks like a sun on the horizon is kind of beautiful. Horikoshi Nugi was doing right there. When facing death, just for a moment, that boy's moves had even Shigaraki flustered. He seems to be on the verge of grasping something essential. Gotta make use of this side effect more. Again, more. Enough of this. You come later. Let's see. So we see All For One sitting in a damn hole. Pissed. Pissed. The man is livid. See that? I'll destroy your hold on me again and again. I'm keeping my distance while the Force Danger's sense is somehow keeping me alive. But how to deal with a superpowered body that can regenerate and inflict instant death? I haven't come up with an answer yet. The next time I use the second's gear shift will be my last. Doesn't matter how long it's active. Even. As soon as it ends, the blowback will leave me immobilized. So this final activation had better count. It ends here. Go beyond. All right. This is possibly one of the best spreads, double pages in the series, from like the matchups lining up, the explosions all over Bakugo, the fucking emphasis on the hole and Shigaraki's palm. What already got demonetized. Look at that. Deku's pose, like activating the gear shift, just the determination on all the faces. Well, All For One just looks skeeved. Everybody else looks raring to go. Still at it, you filler character. Endeavor and Dark Shadow packed more of a punch than he does. Yes, he can wait. He can hardly measure up to All Might. He's not worth advancing my reround state. He's pointless. Our fates are not entwined. A mere pebble in my path. He's nothing. Beyond like zipping past me. All right. So I think it's interesting that he's saying that Tokoyami packed more of a punch, because that's actually kind of a surprise to me based off the way he just fucking floored him to the ground. But I mean, I guess it's possible. I'm not like hating on Tokoyami here. That's just a bit of a surprise, especially with the addition of the speed. Um, Endeavor, I'm not as surprised him saying that, but I mean, All For One also doesn't give people respect until after they beat his ass. So it's a mixed bag on this. So we'll see. I figured it out. It's the pain. The pain is the beads of sweat stored up on my palms, shoot throughout my whole body. The pain is the explode, the locations, the intervals. The pain gives me a handle on the timing of those backup blasts. We kind of see his whole nervous system being emphasized here. What now? Yacht fast, too fast, can't stop. What's wrong with him? So Izuku, can I still catch up to you? For some reason, I feel like I could overtake you now. Honey, look, it's Koski. No, I can't bear to watch given who he's up against. You have to watch because I just know that our boy is grinning the way he always does. I just see finally a moment where I can actually approve of something that she's doing as a parent while simultaneously disliking her even more because it's like the perfect example of narcissistic parent, or one of the best examples of it on a more subtle and less insidious way. Uh, what is it about this insignificant pebble that vexes me even more than All Might does? Of course, the resemblance. Yoichi, he's gone, Demon Lord. You killed him. Ah, so that means, at least in theory, the second user was aware of the side effects of double perking. The hatred I harbor brings back the memories so vividly. Right, it's him. It was always him. If only he hadn't reached out like that. The one I loathe above all others. Let's see. And then Bakugo gets a nice ass explosion on him again. You're to blame for it all, Kudo. Finally gone senile, bub. That's Kachan Bakugo to you, you grade A moron. Yeah. I'm loving this because Hawks could talk trash. Endeavor could talk trash. But let's be real for a second. The one most dedicated to talking trash while fighting you in this entire series is none other than Katsuki Bakugo. Like, this man will insult you at every chance he is given. Oh, nah. And the thing is that people kind of gave like some form of respect to All For One, even when talking trash. Like, oh, yeah, you know about hurting children, blah blah blah. Like, kind of like, yeah, we're the same. Like, kind of mirror. Whereas Bakugo's just like, bozo, bum, your J's suck, your hairline's whack, your teeth jacked. Like, none of that, not even a shred of like acknowledgement or we're similar or anything like that. No, just on his ass. And I love it. Oh, I love it. Let me see. Oh, definitely could have just been that too. Oh, not gonna lie, I laughed at Dave asking what's wrong with him. Let's see. Let's see, Mama Deca. Look, Inko's being saved. Inko is being saved. Let's see. Uh let's see. Joseph Shola's here. Bless whoever spared their jacket. Discourse would be horrible. You're right. Gashly versus Ojiro and Ryukyu. Yeah, that's definitely what it's looking like we're going into. So how high into faster than light are we now? So, according to my calculations, with the fact that Deku at 5% one for all is faster than Aoyama, or Mina, who was capable of dodging a laser at light speed, this would mean that Bakugo, who is already exceeding the speeds of 45% one for all, based on what he's saying here, is in fact at least 10 times the speed of light. With this factored in, I think it's important to realize that at this point, My Hero Academia is putting up multiversal to universal numbers, and it's just that with the advent of the exceptional and the increased power levels, the buildings and the constructs and the planet itself has adapted to the power levels of the people, allowing them to withstand universal levels attacks.
You say all that, but where's the nerd voice?
I was trying a different one, man.
You know what? I respect it. I like that even better. Man, this chapter is fucking dope. Oh my god. Like, this, to me personally, this feels like a better version of the chapter where Bakugo dies. And I don't know if people got the same vibes of it that I got, but I felt it.
So it's to me, this is like the continuation of what we started to see in the chapter where Bakugo dies. Like
Mm-hmm.
we see the development, we see him like starting to figure out his power more. We get the narrator kind of explaining his power.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about this is that his explanation goes further in depth. And I don't think he's always going to be constrained to, the pain factor,
Yeah.
but this is how he's understanding what's happening to his body and allow him to eventually, reverse engineer. Because I don't expect Bakugo to die here. I think we get the most satisfying, which is All For One, who has been determined by Bakugo to be an extra, but a stepping stone on his journey to greatness, as well as in general, who is now a second fiddle to Shigaraki. Like everything about All For One's legacy, he himself has taken the steps to tarnish,
Mm-hmm.
and it's only going down further and further. And like he's going to be stuck here at the end because we talked about this before. I said that like I could see Baku, like if Bakugo kills Shigaraki, for example, it'll be because Deku's already defeated him and he's not willing to take that final step. And Shigaraki kind of like baits Bakugo or somebody into finishing him off, or like Bakugo
Yeah.
takes that final step because he's willing to, be like, yeah, no, you got to go, bro. So here, um, I'm not worried about Bakugo feeling nice towards the end. I'm not worried about, and that's the opponent that All For One always needs to go against. He does not need to ever go against somebody like Deku, who we've seen Deku kind of beat his ass down, but Deku's ambitions and who he is as a person don't fully line up with just beating the crap out of All For One,
Yeah.
and making sure he's just done. Whereas Bakugo is like, yeah, dude, I don't care. You're formerly known as Nutsack Face. I can't call you that now, but that don't matter.
I mean, narratively, like, and both in character, it makes sense that we both have Bakugo going after All For One and Deku dealing with Shigaraki. And it isn't
Yeah,
just because Shigaraki is his final villain, it is his villain. It's who Deku is. Why should Deku prioritize focusing on the two of them when that's just it's fine to admit you want it for the cool factor, right? Like I agree.
mm-hmm.
Like it'd be so cool to see Deku beat All For One's ass again and take down Shigaraki again. But at the same time, it feels better narratively that we are, you know, Deku versus
Oh,
Shigaraki. Also, Miss Andrew sent a super chat.
I'm trying to decide how I want to tackle this one.
Do the new voice. Do the roar.
Hold on, because this one I honestly feel like going a little twangy with. It is my right to use my deadbeat dad's beer money, to use my First Amendment right to give bad faith interpretation of this chapter to my sheep. I mean, followers.
That's not
So,
very nice. Andrew doesn't sound like that. Also, happy birthday, Tyler. I just wanted to say it out loud. I was gonna say before the stream just to say it out loud, but I'm glad I did.
little baby, what are you yelling about, huh?
No.
So, either Yoichi got sick from the quirk and the second user had some speculations on it, or he just
Mm-hmm.
got fucking murked by All For One showing up. One of the
I
two.
don't think he got sick from the quirk because I feel like because the two quirks combine and fuse to make one for all, I assume that just overrid the whole like, oh, if you have two quirks.
Oh,
Not to
I
mention
mean
they were
that's
both
fair.
weak at the time. I don't think it took that long or that short of a time span for him to die. I think All For One killed Yorichi by trying to target Kudo, which by the way, we don't know Kudo's name that relates to One For All in terms of the numbers.
Yeah.
Like who
Um.
is 9, and that's taken by Deku.
Yeah. So we got to figure out his whole name, which I think it's interesting that because we've gotten. I feel like we've gotten some of their names by now.
We
I know we
got
got
all of their names
Banjo.
except for the third user.
Okay. So
Because
then
Yorichi
there's some.
Shigaraki, Kudo something, the third user, Shinomori Hikage,
I was making sure that we didn't
Banjo
get like his
something.
full name before this because I was like, I
Yeah, I
don't
don't
think
think we
we.
did. because like everyone was just referring to him as like the second user and the
Yeah.
third user. I was like, hey Joseph,
Oh, perfect. Mr. Shola.
never drink. You know what? You're talking to an Irish person, so like I don't think you should
Yeah,
say that.
not to sound bigoted, but he's Irish.
Yeah,
Uh,
you
you
should
basically,
apologize to me.
if anything, you just discriminated against his culture.
That's true. That's true. And I'm not going to stand for this. I'm sitting down right now. I'm standing up. Um, but yeah.
Hey.
Uh, Hi,
What
Joseph.
up?
So I'm actually feeling kind of vindicated by this chapter because all right, so like a lot of people when they compare Bakugo to other anime characters, it's typically Sasuke, I've noticed. I've always saw him more as Vegeta, and in this chapter, he got a power up from getting his ass kicked, and he walked back his respect for the main character. He is Vegeta.
Yeah, basically.
I
To
mean,
me personally, he felt like Vegeta fused with what's his name from Bleach? Um,
Uru?
no, the Espada.
oh, Grimjow.
Grimjow, that's it.
Okay.
Which I'm pretty sure Hori has stated on Genie.
So, like, my thing is that I feel like some of the best one-to-one comparisons are ironic, like you're actually like Naruto. Like if you're going to compare him to one character within Naruto, it'd probably actually be Naruto,
Mm-hmm.
except he's smarter than Naruto was portrayed to be early on. Even though Naruto does have high battle IQ, like yeah, whatever, he's not that
All
smart.
protagonists have high battle IQ. Like that's nothing special for Naruto.
So something that I really like about this too, though, is that throughout the series, Bakugo has been the one with the best quirk control.
Yes.
And he's finally dealing with a quirk. Like his quirk is finally at a level that he can't just like cleanly master it. Because he's like hopscotching himself across the ground
He's
here,
bouncing everywhere.
flying through buildings. Like
I love how he crashes into a building and all for one looks and he's like, okay, is he gone now? He's gone now. And then Bakugo appears around the corner, which is kind of similar to where All for One peeked through the wall to All Might.
yeah.
It gave that Where's Johnny vibes. But I do like how Bakugo is referring to himself as Kachan. I do admit the scans when they said I'm Kachan of the Bakugos, which was a nice callback to Heroes
Yeah.
Rising. I kind of prefer that more because it sounds better. But I like this.
Well, that reminds me of something that Kaminari said specifically.
Yeah, no,
Oh, and Heroes
he
Rising,
called him
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like Bakugo is refusing to do any work, and Kaminari walks up to him, and it's like, "Yo, Kachan of the Bakugos, fuck you doing? Get up!"
Now, did he call him that in Japanese as well? Because
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I just sort of assumed that was like a dubism to match the lip flaps.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I just know Kaminari is one of the only characters besides Deku who calls him
They call him
Kachan right
Kachan,
now.
Yeah.
yeah. Back in
Also,
remedial course, right? Or was
yeah,
that during?
I don't remember exactly when it was. I just damn
I
that
think it
it
was
is
like
hard to remember.
I think it was like after Overhaul ended, but before the
Mhm.
medial started. It was
Yeah,
like
because like
that
he
little
approaches
transition.
him. Yeah, he approaches him at in like during the dorms, and like Bakugo sits back up, and he says like, "Oh, we're going to sleep now." Kachan will be widely acknowledged as a new hero name and not Dynamite.
I
For the
okay, so I
longest, I
don't
thought
want
it
that
was
for
gonna be
Bakugo
Kachan.
because he would hate it, and I want him to get to be the hero name that he's chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I mean, Vegeta got to beat Topo, which beating Topo actually is a respectable feat.
I mean, Vegeta still had some cool moments that are like respectable feats. Like I'm pretty sure he has like had wins over Goku, but I haven't read and watched Dragon Ball in a while. Uh, but I don't know. Like I don't know how I feel about like Bakugo like adopting Kachan as like his hero name. Because on the one hand, I don't know, like it feels nice, but the other hand, I kind of prefer Dynamite. I think he solidified that as his hero name, especially in
So
these 2 arcs
I don't
or
think
3 arcs.
I don't think he's gonna pick Hachan. I think the people are gonna pick Hachan. It's like
so
go ahead.
I personally prefer Dynamite because of there's actually a lot of thought into it as far as like his reverence
Yes.
for All Might, surpassing All Might. Um, it's still a funny name just by itself, but like I because I've never really been team. Oh, like his hero name is Kashan. I've never really been for that. Nothing to do with ships or anything like that. It's just it's not a like it doesn't fit.
No, yeah,
Is
like
what it comes down to. It just doesn't fit.
character voice is a thing that exists and that just does not fit with his.
I also think that like it kind of rehashes Deku's moment when he chose Deku as his hero name, where it's very similar. Where like if Bakugo does adopt it, it'll be him taking a name that someone close to him has given him. That there has been some type of like, not hatred, but like they were side eyeing the name.
Mm-hmm.
Like Deku has before Uraraka changed it was used as a way to demotivate him, to shit on him.
Yeah, like it was an insult. Like he really turned that around.
Yeah, there's not any power in that. There's just,
Yeah.
ooh, we're friends. And I'm like, yeah, that's lame.
But you could take that also and say like Bakugo also view that as an insult, where it's like Okashin was like him throwing shade at me. So I don't know if like I would personally like it because it just rehash, but I don't blame people for liking this. I'll say, hey Seth.
Good morning. Hi
Good
everyone.
morning.
What up, Seth?
Yo. Fun chapter.
Dynamite
like,
Kachan. Dyna Kachan.
Yeah, it's a bit cringe, but I like it. Mm,
mm, I mean, All for One is losing a lot of power after this.
Yeah.
And a good chunk of heroes' names are public record. But you guys know I eat on stream sometimes. Don't hold it against me. So it's kind of, and like he specifically, his name was kind of already exposed during Sports Festival. So,
Yep.
and honestly, if you hurt Bakugo's family or people close to him, that's kind of your death sentence. Like, I mean, like if you want to die, go ahead and do that, I guess. But like, so what you're doing, you're committing suicide by Bakugo.
I like that this is being live streamed, so even if like he's gonna have a lot harder name getting that out there, his hero name.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before you joined. It's just like he's not going to pick like the public is gonna pick up on Kachan as his hero name because like they've never heard him say his actual hero name.
Yeah.
So as far as they're concerned, this is it, and that's just what he's gonna be from now on, whether he likes it or not, which is
I do think
very
it'd
funny.
be very funny if like everyone's like, oh, we're gonna call you Kacha, and he's like, no, Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite. And it's like, oh, Kacha's more catchy.
Like bro is done.
So the other thing about that is it's kind of like when sometimes they translate series titles and sometimes they don't. And so it could easily turn into like abroad, he's known as Kachan. But locally, people know to call him Dynamite. Which I think that would be hilarious, is that like his in Japan merch is like Great Explosion got murder got Dynamite. Oh. And then his
plushies.
in his out of
It's
nation merch is all
international.
fucking.
I love that. I'll say, hey, Volk.
Hi. Morning.
Hi.
Um, so yeah, this was an interesting chapter. I think well, I mean, we've been waiting a long time to see like who exactly the second user was. We knew like he was kind of like the first real obstacle AFO went up against, but no, it's confirmed he hates him even more than he hates All Might because he and this was hinted at before when Deku arrived and we saw that little flashback, but he hates this guy even more than All Might because he blames him for Yuichi dying in the first place. And it looks like we're getting specific context about how that all happened. What I'm guessing is it seems All For One kind of stormed the hideout and just carelessly used one of his min-max abilities, like air cannon or something, and brought it all down. But he didn't realize Yoichi was in there with them.
I personally like the idea that like he was going to kill the second user, but Yoichi left in front.
Well,
Which like
I don't know
over.
about that.
Only because he didn't know. Like
he doesn't seem
like, where is he?
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have known. That's the thing. Like he wouldn't have done that if he's like he would have to see Yoichi leaped in front of. Now I can see like Yoichi covering Kudo with his body last second, like to protect him. I can see that, but as far as like a front up attack, I don't think that happened.
I also think that Yoichi might have died before this encounter even happened, though.
He seemed very sick. He seemed very sickly.
Yeah. And so this might have been like bitch, now that you finally got me, your brother's dead.
I wonder if like passing on one for all
happened while he was injured.
Yeah. And then him and his like his second in command. We still don't know his name.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's coming in the next couple chapters. So they were like running around for a year or two. All For One was trying to track him down. And he's like, where the hell is Yuichi? He's dead, man. You killed him.
Been dead for a while. We even buried him.
Yeah.
Not telling you where he's buried either.
Give him some peace away from his supervillain brother. But anyway, I tweeted this. I tweeted this last week when I saw the leaks because like okay, there are certain sections of the story where I stay off Twitter and then I'll stay on. This is very much one that like okay, I'm just gonna stay on for the whole thing, like this specific Bakugo portion. And I said that All For One is the Elon Musk of supervillains because he has his goal in sight, but he cannot resist that petty urge in him to get even with people who he feels personally wronged him, even when a lot of times it's his own damn fault getting in his own way.
Not wrong in the slightest. No. And the other thing too is, even if you say, well, Bakugo doesn't lack as much of has less of a punch than Endeavor or Tokoyami, it is pure ego to get blitzed by somebody 2 times in a row and then be like, yeah, I'm gonna just go do something else.
Yeah, like they straight up said it's like Ed Shot said it's like he was fast enough to give Shigaraki a fright, who was at that point All For One controlled. And it seems like even if All For One can't like specifically recall the memories of certain things happening, he can associate the sensations of it because over the past couple chapters, you've seen like little flashes of that fight, which real All For One wasn't present for, but Vestige All For One was. And he said prior to this whole thing that like he could sense Tomura's emotions. So like he's flashing back to how he felt in those moments, even if he does not specifically know what happened. And like the thing with Bakugo is, look, there's a reason why the Flash and specifically Wally West is the most broken superhero in comics. And it's not because he has super strength, it's because he's that damn fast. And so if Bakugo can utilize super speed and blitz all for one of all people, even if he is weakened, that's definitely a feat worthy of number one, subtracting one for all from the equation.
Yep.
Like, it's not power output, it's how fast you get the job done. This series really stresses, I think, precision over sheer power. It's why Deku is like still operating on 45% because he has to operate his movements specifically instead of like always go for the big knockout punch.
One of the things that I like about this too is what I was saying earlier before you got in, and it might have been before Seth got in too, is that this is like the first time in the story where Bakugo can't be as precise as we've seen him be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this power up is so vast that he's having trouble calculating it, which means that as this fight goes on, one, we know that Bakugo gets stronger as he fights just because of the nature of like the heat and the sweat and all that other stuff. But two, he's going to adjust to this speed. And as he adjusts to this speed that flings him through buildings, it's only going to get worse for All for One.
I find it so funny too. It's like in the middle of it, he's just like, "Oh, I get it now. Pain makes you fight harder," and it's just like he's really happy about it. And I'm like, "Man, you're just like Deku now."
Look, they've been learning from each other the whole series.
Yeah. Oh man. So of course I think because it's also going to be brought up that last line. Oh. Okay. When the leaks came out, I was very confused. I was like, what? But then, it was the added context that Mikasa gave that was like, oh, it was Kachan of the Bakugos. I was like, okay, well, that makes sense. I don't necessarily think it fits super well, but it's like, okay, at least it makes sense. This official version goes back to Kachan Bakugo. And I'm like, I'm not super I'm not super thrilled with how that's been uttered specifically.
So personally, I think that this phrasing, if we go with Kachan of the Bakugos, if that's really the case, then we are kind of, to me, building towards teamwork somehow. I don't know when, because like somebody was like, oh, he's like supposed to be like, I'm the one who steps in for that nerd. And then, he said we. But this week we're going more individualistic, whereas the translation for the other says collectives type, because there's no reason to mention the Bakugos unless the Bakugos get involved. The Bakugos partially being Kaminari, who we know was close by. So I'm kind of curious to see which direction we're actually supposed to be going here.
Well, I think it's going to be a mix of both. I think you're going to get like a teamwork moment that kind of opens up the attack for either All for One or Shigaraki or both. Horikoshi has said before all this that Sero was going to get a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the last battlefield, literally, even aside from Gunga, aside from like the island that Gang Orca was at, the other locations, the last fight still ongoing outside of the one at UA is at Takaba Arena, where Sero, Sato, and Ojiro have been. They've been in this fight longer than like some of the biggest characters in the series. They've been fighting longer than Shoto, longer than Ochako, longer than Tokoyami, longer than freaking Mirio, who's like playing is playing cleanup on UA right now. Like, it's pretty crazy to see how things have shaken out. We still don't know where Aizawa, Mike, and Kirigiri are. It was pointed out specifically to us in this chapter. So that's likely gonna be being brought in pretty soon, since he's brought it up.
I'm almost expecting for All for One to lose, and then there to be like a convergence of battlefields of the remaining players. But we could also get basically a straight up fight. But I don't know how that, because like, since Aizawa doesn't have the ability to just take his quirk away now, and sound isn't necessarily going to destroy gas, we have an interesting battle that like will take some effort for either side to really win. And I mean, it could also just come down to a conversation. I'm not opposed to either. The conversation in the middle of all this where somebody gets through and the other person doesn't have to die would be kind of nice.
You know, if it does come to like something more active, like we don't know how much of mobility Aizawa lost after he lost his leg.
I'm really surprised we got to see Gashly this chapter.
That was a treat. I'm glad
Yeah,
that
I'm
that
really
really is
happy.
not being forgotten
From
about.
afar with his Mary Poppins umbrella.
Yeah, with all his like what can be seen as like children, because like the whole story in Gashly Crumb Tinies is like what 26 children who were murdered by Gashly. I don't remember the story. But it's really gruesome. I've seen a lot of people talk about it in the chat. But
because like one of the kids was named Ida, and people thought it was gonna be a connection.
Ida.
Yeah, Ida.
But yeah, no, that it's a story of just the sad deaths of children, and it's not that Gashly has any role in it, but he's like he is simply just
he's the framing device.
He's on the cover. That's it.
26 children. Okay. So you factor in 1A, who's 20, then Shinso 21.
Not sure you'll get a match there.
I'm not so sure.
Yeah, that's it. But
he does details like that sometimes. So
yeah,
it's still a very gruesome reference, quite frankly. Just
like somebody else pointed out, it looks like he's got a field of babies growing around him.
Yeah, like when the leaks came out, the one comment I saw on Twitter that made me go back and re-examine that, like, are those babies?
You can see a baby head in the bottom left. So I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, like when the leaks first came out, I sort of like glanced over it and I didn't really notice until someone pointed it out. I was like, oh, okay.
I know like a lot of people want more focus on his battlefields, and I get why Hori doesn't like give us more. And I'm fine with it, but I genuinely want to see that battlefield just to see like the art, because this has the opportunity to be scary knowing Hori's skills. Like it's a grown man who looks like the Grim Reaper, like controlling multiple babies that are like spreading across the battlefield. That's raw.
And like
I can foresee All for One like being pinned down by like a combined attack for 1A. Because like he's been going on about extras. There's nothing that grinds his gears more than thinking that he is on the level of all of these people who he's dismissed as inferior. So them all coming together to just like launch one last FU attack at him. Like, I mean, here's the ironic thing. He would not even get to fight Deku like he wanted to. Like, he saw Deku as his final boss. That's the thing. He thought Deku is the end of my struggle to be a great demon lord, the final one for all user. This is like when you get to the final boss of a really easy video game. I got this. And just this entire arc, he has had the rug pulled out from under him, and everybody has just been beating his ass
So the other thing about it that's been satisfying as hell is that All For One has been getting his ass beat consistently by quirks that aren't one for all. He took a fuck ton of damage, partially because he got mind gamed, sure, from a guy who wasn't even using a quirk. And when his personality was in control of Shigaraki's body and he lost his quirks, he got his ass beat. AFO has been fully eclipsed in skill by the entire, like, the next generation. And, you know, everybody was come after him after a certain point. And it is only by the skin of his teeth and being able to just combine stolen quirks that he's managed to stay relevant.
It's like an MMO player who was like really high level at first and really grinded it, and then moved on and was like only logged in here and there and was like still super strong. But then he goes up against everybody else who has gotten like all the power creep items and equipment and upgrades, and he can't cut it anymore.
Hashtag 200 years. My League players know what I mean. Who's that baby?
Yeah. I just really like that theme of teamwork, and it's like there is something so ironic about him not getting his, like, because when he came out of prison, he was like, "This is the story of how I become the greatest demon lord," and basically everything after that is like, nope, that is not your role in this. You are ultimately just a background threat to the real main guy, and you're the right boss everybody fights against.
Yep.
That's really it.
And what's funny is that this is one of those things where I'm like, man, that retcon has brutalized All For One's character a bit, but has led to a very satisfying, like, streak of L's for him. Because if you look at Kamino, when he was like, shit, you beat my ass, so I had to find a successor. If we had stuck with that route, he wouldn't be getting humiliated the way he is right now. And there's a part of me that finds the humiliation of All For One very cathartic. But if he had just been able to humbly let go and actually invest in Shigaraki and keep that personality trait where he was like, oh, slow down, little baby. Actually willing to pass it on for it. He doesn't have to suffer like this. It's amazing how much his life would be different if we just pretend he's a real person for a second. If he had actually just invested in his son's stocks. It's like for people.
I do feel like All For One is kind of the French thrown in, because I'm gonna be honest, without All For One continuously fucking up, Shigaraki probably would have won by now.
I do like that in that irony, just the idea that things could be different if All For One's approach was obviously not centered around him. I mean, he is All For One, but, like, you know, just if he actually gave that to Shigaraki, that'd be that'd be a really interesting approach.
I do think this was always the plan. I do slightly disagree, Aniki. I think Horikoshi introduced him to us with, like, the mindset of, like, from a certain point of view, like the way he says things, because he is a certain point of view, the character, in a lot of ways, because he just interprets things entirely differently. Like, his whole goal, as we've learned, is not even to rule the world specifically. He just wants to rule the world because it's what his favorite character does in his comic.
Yeah. So the reason why I say that there has to be some form of retconning, and it could even be that Horikoshi was switching directions in Kamino and then switched back, because it's always because of that Genus line. He always says he didn't take Genus quirk solely because it didn't fit Shigaraki's disposition and not because it didn't fit his own. Now, you could argue that he was referring to himself in the third person there, which I'm not opposed to. I mean,
I think that's more to do with, like, him, because you see with Shigaraki All For One that, like, he is still All For One dominant, but he has infusions of Shigaraki's personality still.
So, but he also did, like, say, like, that boy's going to become the next me when he was early introduced. So it's like, it kind of feels like Horikoshi might have just been giving himself multiple paths to go with the character, if you take it that way too.
That's
But like, I'm
entirely
not.
possible as well, because this is a weekly serialization. So, mm, yeah, I can see the door being
especially
open to both points until he decided to fully commit. Because
especially
yeah, he
with
recontextualizes the next me line later for sure.
the testing of Shigaraki too, right? Like with Makia being an actual test for him to, and like fostering his leadership skills and all that other stuff. It's all like really weird if you're just gonna take him over anyway. But if you're leaving yourself like that avenue, and if All for One doesn't, which since All for One was like, my ego must have been destroyed or taken over, it could possibly be possible that he was just like, all right, there's a chance he beats me, and if he beats me, I want him to be good as shit so that it still counts. But even that's like kind of weird. But with the way he's obsessed with his brother, you could chalk it up to All for One's twisted love. So I'm actually kind of really interested in getting more of All for One's backstory and getting a bit more about like how his mind works, besides just him being the ultimate cringe nerd that wants to be his favorite character from a comic.
So I know we talked about like us seeing the backstory of like the One for All users and like getting more insight into like the like what really happened back then, because we are getting fed like spoon fed like bits and pieces throughout the manga, but now it feels like we just gotta like see, because especially if we have to bring up the shared user's name, what brought Yuichi's death. um I don't know. I just feel like now is the right time. Also, I really like how in this chapter, All for One says a mere pebble in my pat. And I was like, that sounds familiar. So I went back, and in chapter 7, Bakugo says, because of Deku, he wasn't supposed to be more than a pebble in my pat. And I love that. That's a great callback.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like All for One is chapter 1 Bakugo
Yes.
taken to its logical extremes, because like Bakugo at the start is a dick. He's got zero redeeming qualities. Like, he's just there to really yell and be a jackass to Deku.
Yeah, because we don't even have like the combat scenarios where he gets to do like a lot of raw shit. Like,
yes,
he's a whiny, entitled brat at the start. Like, he's just like, you don't really know a whole lot about him. He's bullying Deku all his life. When you really think about it, the relationship between him and Deku at first was very similar to All for One and his brother. And over time, that's evolved to be something more to like what Yuichi and Kudos shared, and now they can be proper allies.
and you mentioned this, so I thought about this, and I want to like emphasize that point a little more. One of the cool things about the way this has been going is that we're getting All for One flashbacks and thoughts on moments, not through him fighting Deku, but by him fighting people who don't have One for All. Like, we're getting the Bakugo, especially like that resistance of somebody close to an initial One for All user, or somebody that All for One has selected, and it's somebody adjacent to him that is like enabling these flashbacks for us to see. So we're getting kind of the perspective of like the average person rising up against him, and that's what's causing, vestiges to get active, or for us to get flashbacks. It's the idea that All for One can handle One for All opposing him mentally, but there's just something that really snaps him when somebody beyond his chosen battle buddy stands up to him. Hey, you.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to actually seeing All for One dig into that timeline a little bit. I mean, I'm kind of conflicted because it's like I do want to see like how I want to see them, like actually fight, not just, reminisce kind of. But at the same time, that's a really intriguing part of the backstory. So I'll take what we can get, I think, in that regard. Um I do think the dialogue this chapter tends to be a bit, or leans more towards like ham-fisting you. To a point, I think that's okay. because knowing how this fan base can interpret certain things, it's nice to have clarity. Just, getting beaten over the head with the parallels between All for One and Bakugo. I also feel, vindicated because that's something that, it was hard not to notice immediately, but people were too busy being upset or freaking out over certain things at the time to really give it the proper like critique, I think. Yeah, because Bakugo happened to die that chapter, so understandably no one was really talking about All for One that much. But still, it's nice how this all did come together for All for One being a great villain for Bakugo. So pretty hyped for that.
I mean, and there is that very clear, because it's much like, if you can say that Bakugo parallels Endeavor, then you inherently have to say he parallels All for One, because the reason
minus
why
the child
Endeavor
abuse.
was, yeah,
actually,
like,
no,
well,
with the child.
no, not my child abuse.
Actually, wait. All right, yeah, dynamics are a little bit different, but no, wait, you're right.
Because the things that made Endeavor and All for One work is like causing harm to people around them. They're focused on power, and so it's kind of like there are three different junctures, and it's like a progression of that obsession. Like, you start off as just like a playground bully almost if you're that obsessed with it when you're young. And let's be real here, the fact that Enji Todoroki had to get purchase a bride basically is a really good sign that his interpersonal human interactions were not good, because he's already the number 2 hero. People would have wanted him. That means people who he did not purchase were like, damn, this dude's a dick. Like, you telling me just think about that. Like, do you believe in a world where, let's pick a celebrity.
I just like the idea that he has like zero game. Like, he would go on a date, like, so do you like stuff?
So
like, it's just kind of like thinking about like all the celebrities or like famous people who are, because like when you think about somebody who's like the level of the number 2 hero, it's like weird to find somebody who's like in a position that could be argued as like kind of militaristic, but like also is just like general celebrity status. But it's like you can't imagine, like, even somebody like Gal Gadot, who is extremely polarizing, partially because her acting's not that good, but also because she's IDF. So
very, very pro IDF, mind you.
Here's my question for you guys: do you believe that Gal Gadot can't go get some dick if she wants it?
Yeah.
Like, no, she like, there's somebody out there guaranteed that's gonna be like, I want some Wonder Wussy.
I mean, I don't think Gal Gadot goes on dates and goes, you know that Jason Momoa guy? Hate him. Can't stand him. You hate him too? No, I don't. Get on my face.
Oh God.
So
that word is going to be stuck in my head for a long time.
I love it.
But like, my point is that like you have to be especially socially bad to override having that much celebrity and like success, and even go like, you haven't even found a gold digger to latch onto you and like pretend she likes you.
Oh, I mean, it could also be because he was looking for that perfect combined quirk as well. I mean, it's
saving himself.
It's not exactly
for that
1-to-1,
yeah.
But
Endeavor's own father died when he was like in high school, so that evidently affected him. How could it not? So I think it was a mix of a lot of things. It was his own pride, it was his own ego, it was his own fear of ending up like his father. And that all combined into like this unholy drive to surpass All Might, so he could keep everybody safe as well as himself safe. And he projected a lot of that onto his family, and of course the results are as we've seen. One son burned to a crisp, the other has a scar for life. His wife hates him.
They're all probably scarred for life now after that shit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But I
Yeah.
really like that part with Endeavor with his mask, with the fire mask and the contextualization for that too. Like everything he was keeping bottled up with that mask on. And so I kind of liked just that whole he's such a complete package of a character. Like, wow. But I noticed that like there's also something going on with All for One too. Like he has an interesting response to his brother's death. And that seems to be him sealing away his own hatred because of what happened, because that resulted in his brother's death, I think. I mean, we'll see more, I'm sure. Like, Horikoshi will definitely hit us on the nose with that one, but like, I just think it's interesting to see that little bit of
You mean in reference to like
Uh,
page 13, where his eyes, you can like even just seeing his eyes, you can tell that there's like despair in them almost.
well,
Mhm.
yeah, like, it's like these emotions, they remind me of what happened that day. And like that's an interesting kind of trauma response. which is which is funny to give your main. I mean, it makes, I mean, obviously certain people can be motivated, by anything, regardless of whether they're a villain or a hero. I just think like that's an interesting approach to All for One this late in the game, and I kind of wonder what he's cooking with that.
Mhm.
Well, so my personal thing is that I've believed for a long time that All for One and Yoichi are orphans, just which I feel like duh, Aniki, like right, like of course they're orphans. Everybody and their mom was an orphan back then, except their moms because their moms were dead. But like genuine, because when we see All for One finally speak through Shigaraki's body, like yeah, we saw him in his head like get one for all, get it. But like he's like, you'll be mine, little brother. Yeehaw! Come here, brother. I'm sorry, Gina. Let me. Okay. You don't like when your dad uses those kinds of accents, so I won't use that accent anymore. But his goal, like part of his obsession with One for All, as much as I'm a Chad with no feelings, and I'm just here to be he desperately wants to have his brother stuck in the vestige realm with him.
Mhm.
He wants his brother's vestige so that he can have that, because it seems like he's like, I'm going to become the ultimate demon lord, partially because I have no family left and I want to at least live a fantasy. It's cringe as fuck, sure, but it almost seems like it's like this shutting away of feelings, this burning hatred and rage, and trying to become the demon lord while also trying to find joy in every moment. It all screams like heavy coping mechanisms.
Mhm.
And so it just kind of seems like he's somebody who was heavily traumatized, got a bunch of power, and then just was like, well, if I make the world what I want it to be, and just kind of completely lost any sense of attachment to anyone because the only thing he had that was even kind of humanizing him for a long time was his brother. It's kind of like how Dofi uh, is unfortunate, like Dofi from One Piece is surrounded by sycophants. So there's nothing to enforce better morality in him,
Mhm.
especially after he does what he does with his family.
Oh yeah. Um, like
Yeah, good
I think
person.
with All for One is like, I mean, there's a reason this excuse me. Let me start over. There's a reason that Horikoshi has had him use rewind beyond even like sticking around long enough to be a threat throughout the entire arc. It's that he's reverting back to what he really is on the inside, and it's this scared little boy who isn't able to really who isn't really able to resist the urge to do things that go against his own goals. Like, he's growing gradually more impetuous. Like, yes, a lot of that is Shigaraki, but it's merely bringing to light issues that have always been with him. Like, he's always been just an insecure little kid on the inside. who needs his brother's approval constantly because like he's the only thing he has. And he fills that void with comic books, which are just like, I mean, we evidently all love media, but like that's not what our lives consist of entirely. That's really all he had to fill the void. So I'm curious to see more of this All for One backstory because I don't think it'll necessarily make him more sympathetic, but it might be like Chisaki where you understand where
It's
he
that
came from.
this is why you're this way.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that I would say is that All for One might have the ability to steal quirks, but what that really means is that just like Yoichi, at one point he might as well have been quirkless. So, and we know he gave Tomura the last name Shigaraki because, oh, that's my last name. But we don't see him ever identify with his actual name.
Mm-hmm.
It is always his quirk that he identifies with. And it kind of feels like once he realized that he could take other people's powers, there's a part of him that was like, I'm going to take the tools that were used to harm me and my family and make sure that never happens again.
Well,
and then he lost Yoichi anyway.
It's curious because he might have been quirkless until he was like in his mid-20s or something. Because like really think about this. Look, remember the flashback Deku has of the dream?
Yep.
When he talks to those two guys, he's like, the one man was cast out by his family for the quirk he manifested. And it sounds like he didn't manifest it when he was 4 or 5, like most people.
Yeah, no.
He manifested it like when he was an adult.
That's why I'm pro quirks being a disease, actually.
Yeah. This was like a new thing. So for All for One, you know, he might have been like besieged by villain attacks, maybe just like trying to keep him and his brother safe. And then one day he discovers these holes on his palms. He doesn't know what they are. And then he like gets into a scuffle with a villain, and he, like out of self-defense, he just puts his hand on his face. And all of a sudden he realizes his quirk is gone. He's like, what the hell happened? And then he sprouts that quirk himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would serve as an interesting mirror to Deku, because Deku was similarly just like had zero power and then was offered the greatest power of all. But he didn't let that corrupt him. All for One evidently let that corrupt him.
And part of it is also because even in your 20s, you're susceptible to new traumas, and that can change how you view things. Because finding out that you had the ability to take quirks means that, like, technically, if you had it, you know, hidden in the closet when your house was raided or something, you could have saved your parents. You could have done more to protect. You could have done more. And that I could have done more thing is an especially haunting form of like mental anguish. And what I wanted to zero in on is because, like you mentioned, the people we see fall under two categories: a person who has lost his family and a person who needs power to protect himself. And so if you combine both of those, it seems like that's what you get is All for One. And I don't think Horikoshi chose that example just arbitrarily either, right? Like we're saying here, this person has lost their family. Let me take away quirks. And if quirks weren't a thing, All for One would still have his family. This person did not have the ability to protect himself. And if I had been taking somebody else's power earlier, I could have protected myself and by extension, my family. So it kind of seems like we're building up towards All for One being the biggest case of unresolved trauma in the series, while simultaneously still not being justified at all because he's done too many horrible things.
So are you saying
and
the
can't be saved?
Second man where All for One mentions like he was walking home from work and he was assaulted by metas is him?
It would be like All for One or All for One's family. So like both serve as him, but in a different way.
So like the whole he was a kind man, but his parents chased him out, even though he was caring for them, would be kind of a hint towards what happened with his parents.
So that would be a hint towards That's more like the idea that if there were not quirks, or if the quirks had not manifested, he would not have lost his family.
Okay, that makes sense.
And in the other direction, if he had simply had that power or had taken that power from them, they would have been able to fight back. So it's like both, like when you combine the two, it's like quirks caused All For One to lose his family, but quirks also could have been the answer if he had known he could take them sooner. And so it's like a double-edged sort of, this is the root problem of your life, but it also could have helped you if you had, because of the quirk he has specifically, he could have made sure it wasn't a problem anyway.
Yeah.
And so it's like a case of did not have power or did not understand power, did not have it at the time. Plus, so like, because everything is all about that power now, right? Like when we think about what All For One does, what does he do besides try to make All For One last, make his own power greater? Like, sure, he's buying Gucci suits or whatever, but his focus is just so heavily centered around stockpiling, being the strongest, stopping other people from having super powerful quirks so that they cannot harm him. Because he doesn't even kill every hero whose quirk he steals. Like, he stole O'Clock and then just left him be. It's like he has that compulsion to steal, but really it's just about making, like, even when you look at Search, getting that, like, stealing that quirk just makes it easier for you to not be found. It's just another form of protection. So when he says, oh, this doesn't fit this position, also, Fiber Master isn't a quirk that he has to be afraid of finding him, necessarily overpowering him, because he's already overpowered it. It's not a scary quirk. Like, you can train, get really good at it, but it's just not that terrifying. It's not something that you need to be concerned with. And it feels like it just doesn't line up with his ego, and he doesn't need it because it's not OP.
And against people that it would be, I mean, it certainly wouldn't really work against Deku. I mean, in the Dark Hero arc, he was like exhausted beyond belief, but like right now at full power, he would just break the binds, and that would be a problem for Shonen Jump. But
you don't want that, huh?
But yeah, no, the yeah, retcon or not, though, I do appreciate both routes for what they could be, and I think we still are getting the best of both worlds ultimately. This is good for pretty much everyone involved. All For One is too convenient to just in terms of like being able to basically be the job to literally the entire rest of the cast, while Deku holds off Shigaraki. I think that's just too perfect of a setup to not capitalize on. So ultimately, I'm glad Horikoshi went with the route that he did. Since it turns out that Shigaraki is able to fight for himself in the end. So I'm pretty excited for that outcome. I didn't comment on it earlier. I just was I wasn't on the ball there, but the translation drama is really annoying.
It's frustrating, especially when they keep bringing it back up to be petty. It's so annoying.
Yeah, like,
oh, you mean like their crusade against Caleb?
Not just that, but the loud fruits drama.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
Where it's like, oh, let me just clip this like part of his video and post it, and then just have all of my followers just berate him and have most of the quote tweets be like, we need him off the platform and he needs to not nice words.
What did I come back to?
Yes,
the response to that was not great either. It was just a huge dumpster fire, and
I saw that. Yeah,
I didn't want to necessarily bring literally all of it up, but I did want to say that, you know what, I'm looking at it. It's like all of this over Kacchan, and I'm like, why?
I'm gonna be honest. Like, I just saw that going down. I'm like, that's not worth pursuing.
Yeah, we talking about people trying to get Caleb Cook fired.
No, none of it.
Okay, look, here's the thing with Rikasu. They're more reasonable than I'd say some of these other leakers have been in the past, but I think I said this. I think they do also post and word things very specifically to appeal to the main fan base they have. And I get it. I understand. I just think that's a little disingenuous, and I think you should just be upfront instead of like doing this like back and forth and kind of leading people on.
I mean, I don't even think it's that bad. I just think that they should be more aware of the fact that they have so many followers, and
They are, though.
they will.
They
I know,
absolutely
I
are.
know. But they should post more like it, because some of the things are unnecessarily charged, I should say.
I do think like the whole topic of like knowing your audience and like knowing what to say, like obviously you can't control everyone in the audience, but you can
can't.
mitigate your behavior and ensure that a lot of these people just don't go overboard, because everything with Caleb was just not necessary. And I don't think like Rukusu or like Davi's pole dance have any like distaste
No.
for Caleb, but I do think their actions have created another surge of
Well, it's
hold
Caleb.
on. Time out.
That's a few
Did
things.
you say Dobby's pole dance?
What's her name? I'm
Yeah,
going by their
Ever.
ass. Oh,
That-
Ever.
that's
it.
what the ad is. I don't know the person's
That's right,
actual
yeah.
name.
Here's something else I'll
Sam.
mention.
Sam. That's it.
Here's something else I'll mention. When it comes to fan service of the girls, even the adult characters, there's definitely more of a double standard between that and how they treat the guys.
Well, yes, quite obviously, and it's look, every Shonen Jump author caters to the 30-year-old women who will drop hundreds and hundreds of dollars on merch. Like that's just how it is.
Yes.
And said women are not going to be that interested in fan service for girls, even though that will help with the sales of the weekly magazine and stuff, because the audience is, still like they're trying to get, both young guys and older women in on this. So that's just how that is. But like in terms of the translation drama, I'm like, look, yes, Bakugo said his name is Kachan. Why are people like in context of the scene, it mostly works. It's a little corny, but it's like it is
I very much like the Kachan of the Bakugo's translation.
I do. I'm the same. I prefer it, but I do think both.
Him just
like,
saying
satisfied.
Kachan Bakugo, I'm like, that doesn't particularly make sense, because it's like, and like a lot of this is because it's in Japanese, so there's like additional context and meaning.
The layers of Japanese is what makes it difficult. Like how Viz's approach to it is going to be different than different translators are going to have a different approach to this. But yeah, that tribal way that he is addressed is or that he addresses himself, like you get the point, but like proper conveying that there's nuance to how you convey it, sure, but like it's not really worth the drama. And a lot of it that's not surprised me, but it's like just the idea that he called himself Kachan upset people. But then there was also the reaction to just the entire reaction to that panel was explosive, and I'm amused by it but also exhausted by it, because it's both not a big deal and a big deal, and I don't know how you thread that line without either being ridiculous and bringing up real world events or just being petty and throwing pot shots. Like can we just not?
I did see earlier that Kachan Bakugo was trending in Japan on Twitter, but that's like the extent of that I am aware of. But
also Nobuhiko tweeted out just Kachan, and like you can tell he's over the moon with this chapter, because obviously his voice actor.
Like he's like the one member of the cast that actually reads the material. Which, which I
him and Suabe and a couple others, but yeah, like and of course Endeavor's voice actor Inada-san. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure Daiki is anime, like he doesn't read manga.
Yeah, no,
correct.
I mean, like from an acting perspective, I can see both sides. Like one, like so you can like know what's coming up, so you can like sort of like mentally prepare yourself, but you also don't want to have preconceived like ideas on how a scene should play out. So like I do see both sides of their approaches as actors. But it's just a matter of personal taste, I guess. But like I mean, like one's not better than the other. Like it's not required reading for the job, but I don't know.
It's nice as a fan to be able to interact with the voice actor on
Yes.
that level,
Yeah.
on a deeper level. So I
For
get that.
sure. But I also
Yeah.
think it's kind of a curse as well that you can interact with this voice actor, especially when they are not so intertwined with the fandom, because obviously I don't think he really gives a hoot about like interacting with people. He just wants to tweet and show his support towards his fellow Seryu, and that's great. But I do also think that's kind of a bad thing, knowing how bad this community is.
Well, yeah, if you're in too deep, and it's worse when the writers are in too deep with the fandom as well.
Yes.
So yeah, I know that sometimes it's not a good thing, but usually though that's more of a personal risk to the voice actor than anything else, I think. So
Yeah.
just do it at your own discretion, really.
Oh, dude, that whole thing with like Yoroichi's voice casting.
Man, fuck
Yeah.
me.
Oh,
That was a lot of
That
self-inflicted
that
and
was
not
disgra-
necessary.
Fuck
that was
Wendy.
disgraceful.
I feel so bad for Annalise.
I feel like okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now. The bleach. Okay.
Yes.
That was so distasteful.
Oh
That was
yeah.
unnecessary.
Oh,
Yeah.
Have you seen
You
her
absolutely
likes,
never take
like,
stuff
the
like this
tab?
public.
Here's
Like,
here's the thing that drives me insane about that whole thing. Is like Annalise was like super graceful, super like cool about it, regardless of whatever her personal feelings were.
she handled it
Because
perfectly.
she had to say it that way because she knew she would get attacked
Yeah.
otherwise. And then here goes Wendy Lee with like all these passive aggressive comments and like saying all this stuff. I'm like, dude, the double standard is freaking insane.
Yeah.
I don't know
And
about
she gets the
double
job
standard. I
back
think
while
she
Annalise gets kicked. Says,
No, I don't think there is any double standard there. Annalise is universally praised as far as I'm aware,
no,
and
no, no, no,
Wendy
no, no, no,
Lee.
no, no. You're
Wendy Lee.
misunderstanding me.
Oh, okay.
Double standard and how they're treated by employers.
Oh yeah. Because like, there's no unironically, there's no reason to keep Wendy Lee due to how unprofessional that was.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you're like, oh, well, we're trying to keep the OG. Fuck the OG casting. Fuck it.
Well,
Like, it's upsetting.
Chad's original dub actor, he did not return to because I might be misunderstanding this or misremembering, but because the original dub actor was white and Chad is a black character, and he wanted to allow a black actor to have the role. Am I right on that?
Yeah.
Chad's Mexican, but still, like,
okay.
I'm sure
Yeah,
something like
he's
that.
not. Yeah.
But the thing is that they're like Wendy, like the whole reason Wendy felt like she needed to respond was literally just, wow, you guys are being nice to her after she lost her job. I'm upset about that.
She was being petty.
Like,
No,
you're
it's,
mad that people are nice to her because of the fact that she lost a job that she was happy she got, and you don't think that makes you a dick?
Yeah, no, it's very being entitled, especially in public, is just super embarrassing for Wendy. Like,
this is a case of where like bending to fans this sets a bad precedent because they absolutely bowed because of the racist comments. They did not. It was not because of like Annalise's performance or anything of that. It was specifically because she sounded different and that the actress was black. So now it's
really disappointing seeing these, like, because like even if I wasn't a big fan of Bleach, like I was a big fan of like who she has voice acted, and like seeing her and like the Bandana voice actress, it's just disappointing seeing their behavior on social media.
Like, Wendy getting taken back on is so irksome to me that I might just not watch the dub for the rest of Thousand Year Blood War.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm like, nah, that was like, you got the job back. You didn't have to get it. And all of a sudden you're, wow, that's just show business. That's just show business. Okay, well, you got replaced with it, and it wasn't just show business then. So why are you so hurt?
Right. No, like
Why are
there's
you
no
booty
reason
blasted? Why
to...
you got a full-blown hemorrhoid?
Right. No,
Where's your
there's no
preparation
reason
H?
to literally open your mouth. Like, you got your job back. Why are you like? Yeah, people are feeling pity for Annalise because she didn't get to do the role. It's like,
No,
why are you opening your mouth?
She got screwed out of this. I mean, there's no denying that.
Yeah.
It was nice
Well,
to see
her
all
career
the
is at
voice
least fine.
actors
I don't know
like
about Wendy's.
on her side
Wendy's
though.
is probably fine too. Now that I think about it, but I mean, both their careers are fine, but it was still sad and awful to see. Just and stuff like that really also shouldn't just never be public. If you're a performer, you don't. There's a reason you keep this kinds of grievances to yourself, because obviously, I mean, like I understand being frustrated if it's a role you really liked and helped to define, but like uh, times being what they are, or just different directors, different days, things happen. It's like it's so
If I'm
stupid
honest,
and disappointing.
I didn't miss having Wendy's voice, because, and this will suck, when you're a VA, if somebody's voice is close enough or they still deliver the lines well, I don't give a shit. So I didn't care that you weren't there, Wendy. I did it.
I never watched the dub whenever Yorichi was around, so like no impact for me.
She sounded cool, but like
So
it's just a voice, which
like,
is also a sad thing to say in general. But
Like they recast the entire voice cast for Persona 3 with new younger actors because that original dub was just didn't fit anymore.
Also, the fact that like the navigator in that game sounded more robotic than the actual robot.
Oh God. Oh, Fuku was so bad. Honestly, I will say the Bleach dub is better than the Persona 3 dub, but considerably. But yeah, it is kind of the same principle.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Yoriichi is a black character. Like she's basically been shown to be that. In fact, in like one of the endings, she's a singer and she has an afro, and it's like they're pretty upfront about it. So if you want authenticity outside of like in the English language, then yeah, I think you should get a black actress.
so it's just one of those things where it's like, bro, like I just can't respect being that mad that, and like it was on the post where she was like, hey, like this happened.
Yeah.
And like you come on that post and you're like, it's that classic meme. Get in there and make it about me. Like, and congratulations, you did. And now everybody knows you're a dick.
Yeah, like she got her job back. That's a little extra money in your pocket. That's extra fuel for when you go to conventions. Should have just stayed zipped. But from what I understand, she's not. A lot of people in the industry do not like her because of how she conducts herself. So
I guess her in 2010 at a convention. It was a good experience, but this sort of soured that memory. But
well, it's one of those things where you're like, all right, this seems like a totally normal person, and I enjoyed. Oh my god!
Oh no! She did what?
Soiled it.
As usual, social media tends to bring out just the worst in people. Just if they're feeling petty, you'll know. And
genuine case of like, as the youth say, you could have just sat there and ate your food.
Yeah,
it was free not to talk. Like it was free not to post that.
At least Annalise still has Mirko, and Mirko has another badass part coming up in season 7. So I'm
exactly.
Looking forward to how she sounds.
I was really
Totally.
excited for Anis because like Yorichi and Mirko, like that's a dream. But hey,
That "What's Up Doc" line in the dub is
it peak.
I love her.
That was amazing.
Oh my gosh.
I love
So-
their like her interactions with Zeno on Twitter. Like they're great.
Oh yeah, different series, but Kaji Tane, who is the dub voice
Oh,
of
Gojo.
Gojo, he is just hilarious to follow. Like
So
like,
fun.
lately he's been doing a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen like jokes, like random facts about Megami that are probably not true, but he's saying them anyway.
He's playing the part of Gojo in real life.
Yeah, he is.
Oh no, okay. Like I followed him for a while, and that this was the role that he was born to play. Like he is Gojo in personality. Which is funny.
Speaking of, how do we feel about that latest JJK episode? Because that
Oh,
was-
gorgeous.
I haven't
Oh my
watched it yet. I
gosh.
saw clips of it. So part of me was like, this wasn't in the manga at all. But I
I
was
like it.
Good art.
It's nice to look at though. Like
Yeah, very good, Harsh.
them switching Rabbit Escape to Bunnicula was an interesting choice.
Bro, he bit the oh my god. They're having a lot of fun with Toji. And like as like I don't really like Toji that much, but this episode made me
Hold up.
actually
Have
like him.
Have you guys ever seen Birdie the Mighty?
Yes.
Hold up. Toji is Father of the Year in JJK.
Yeah.
In JJK specifically.
Yeah. Well,
Name a
anyway,
better dad
yeah.
than Toji
Yeah.
in JJK.
Anyway, this
Yeah.
latest JJK episode, by far the best episode of the series. I'm going to be upfront about that.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure I caught some Birdie influences in like a particular sequence where like, you know, in the manga when Sukuna is just like being an absolute menace against Jogo and like
Yes.
beating the
Mhm.
crap out of him. That sequence is like
Is it a sequence where they're running through the Yeah, I see what you mean.
crazy. Although Pineapple also started bringing up like, oh, MHA should be.
Can we not?
But-
Can we
Should've
leave that?
been- should have been adapted by Mappa. I'm like, dude,
No.
come on.
Again, any tubers can't resist stepping in it. Like
I-
this,
I had to disagree with him there because, like, as I pointed out, it's like what you demand of what you're demanding of My Hero under Mappa. Just look at how Attack on Titan has been handled. Just look at how JJK is like struggling to put out episodes. The literally minutes before they go up.
Mhm.
You're
Also-
requesting MHA to take 20 to 25 years to complete because that is a long ass series and that is a much more visually detailed series than something like JJK.
I just want to say, I really fucking love the series finale of AoT. I thought they did a great
Oh
job.
yes. Like can I be honest? I'm not gonna say anything about the finale, but I'm really happy with the feedback from the anime onlys because we've had this conversation with My Hero. Like
Yep.
everything that the fandom has deemed bad, the anime onlys see the light. And I'm happy people are like, what the fuck are people talking about? This is a great ending because it is a good ending.
Well,
I'm
to
tired.
be fair, there's a very key change that happens between Eren and Armin, which I think
Oh,
is-
for sure.
Oh yeah, they
Which I
changed
think-
that line. They changed that
which
line.
I think
it was
really
one-
I'm
brings it
so
home.
bad, by the way.
I thought that line was a meme for the longest time that I found out it was actually in the
It's
manga.
real. Yeah.
So that I feel like that sentence, like I got what Armin really meant, but it's
It
just
didn't-
not a good way to phrase it.
Yeah.
So because it's like when somebody ultimately, like as bad as all that was, is trying their hardest to do like create a world that's best for you specifically,
Mhm.
and you know, because like I think the other thing is that it goes back to a conversation that Annie and Armin have where they're like, I guess we're just both murderers, you know, like we're
Mhm.
murderers.
Yeah.
When you're like, I am a murderer, and I understand why you take lives, that reaction like makes a lot more sense. Like, we don't kill people. And I say that with a lot of confidence. So if you find out somebody who was on the stream killed somebody, FBI, I didn't know about it. But we don't kill people. So, and if you don't kill people, the idea of thanking anyone for killing people is gonna seem fucking weird. But like, Armin shot somebody so that Jean could live. So Armin understands what it's like to kill people to save other people. Hell, there was this whole fucking heart-wrenching sequence when they were leaving the island dealing with Floke's boys. And they're like, I thought we were friends. And Connie's
with
like,
Connie, yeah.
Yeah. And that shit was awful. Like, good awful. It was like, man, this is oof. I'm in Spain, but the S is silent.
Fucking Mappa made it even more unbearable to watch. Like it's terrifying. By the way, voiced by the same voice actor for Dabi as Zenitsu.
Yeah.
Connie's voice is great.
So range is incredible. Shimano's
just so much pain in that whole situation. So I feel like people overrode that line just because they're not looking at the context of the conversation being had in the characters. They're like, no, dude, this is just real. Well, it's like that. Now you're missing the point.
I'm also glad people are like actually seeing what Eren truly is. Like the amount of people who are like, oh, Eren did it 180 in this episode. Like, no,
I
like,
think
sure, it does feel like it, but it makes sense.
I've known who Eren was since forever ago, so seeing people upset about it was just really cathartic. Like, I wasn't upset at all that Eren had that whiny moment with Armin. Like, no.
My favorite,
like,
I saw a comment on TikTok where somebody was like, as much as people have said that it's character assassination, and people are like, well, he should have actually tried to kill them during the rumbling. It's like, if Eren tries to kill them during the rumbling, after the flashback where he said, like, they're talking about who's going to get stuck with the responsibility of Eren's Titan in 4 years.
Exactly.
And he goes, I don't want you guys to worry about that. I want you to live long and happy lives. And then he kills them.
That's character assassination.
After the scene that, like, even if you don't count that flashback, when they finally get to the ocean, and he's like, it's all like I saw. If we go across that ocean, will we finally be free? Like, after all that, or after his despair over losing Han, like, there's so many situations where it's like, no, like, Eren's whole thing is trying to find a way to destroy Titans, remove Titans from the world for the people he loves.
It's so disheartening seeing
achieve ultimate freedom.
It's so disheartening seeing people view Eren's like that facade as actual fact and be like, no, Eren didn't really care. He was emotionless. He didn't have heart. He should have killed everyone.
I think the point where I just kind of checked out of like Attack on Titan discussion was when I saw a bunch of One Piece stans try to say that Luffy had achieved the goal of freedom that Eren was always pursuing. And I'm just like,
oh my god.
That is the least comparable scenario you can think up.
Which, shout out to Roger's base, because I remember when he was on stream one day and like AoT just like happened to come up and we were both like, no, the shit was great and it made sense, like, completely. Like,
and like Roger was like, reaction?
I actually haven't yet. And Roger was very good. He was like, this kind of redeems Eren's character because, like, you know, everybody's talking about how he is that way. So, like, you're worried that, like, what if that is really how Eren's gone? What if he really has just gone off the rails? And so if you start to have those doubts in his character, then it's like, okay, thank God. It was for them. He wasn't this piece of shit. And like Roger, so like Roger and I talked about, like, no, like that shit was great. Like, it was a good thing that, like, that's who he was. And I always say, like, it reminds me of that meme where it's like, where you got the guy, he's like, wait, you guys are getting breaks? Or like, there's always like that format, like, oh, like this, and then you have the
wait, you're getting paid?
And like, for me, that was me when we got to the end and I realized that a lot of my like people who were like, yeah, Aaron Yeager, woo, like, and then I found out, oh wait, you guys actually thought this was going to be a genocidal? Oh,
People really thought Attack on Titan would have ended with
oh,
100% of humanity wiped out. It was just Aaron alone.
we were definitely on different pages. We were excited about two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Well, all
Something I
right.
really appreciate from Aaron when he said, like, I'm just a garden variety idiot who got my hands on great power. It just hits even harder because the same people who viewed Aaron as just this no nonsense person really
The
failed to
Sigma
realize
Chad.
he's still a child. Like, he never got the chance to grow up.
And that's another thing too, is that AoT, if I remember correctly, like the manga ended in like April of 2021.
I believe, yeah.
April 2021.
Yeah, I was
Yep,
about to
okay,
say,
so
has
that's
it
right.
really been 3 years? Goodness.
Yeah, well, 2.5, but yeah, basically. But you gotta think, we started the Ponderosa in March of 2020. Sigma Chad shit started like late 2019, early 2020. And I mean, I don't just mean like the Sigma Chad Aaron memes. I just mean like the Sigma Chad online discourse period started towards the beginning of the Panini.
When did they start the American Psycho posting? That was like,
That was even before that.
yeah.
Yeah. So people had over a year of Sigma Chad general content plus Sigma Chad Aaron memes baking their fucking brain while they weren't going outside.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They also did that to Deku for like 3 months when he was like, and basically the impetus for that was that he stopped showering.
Oh my god.
That's what made them start standing him.
I've never felt so
bothering to
triggered
bathe.
before that when people were saying, oh, Aaron, like Deku's going to Aaron route. He's so cool
Like,
now.
a lot of people weren't going outside. I still had to go to work. So I met my wife during the pineapple. But like the rest of these folks, they were just in their house ingesting memes.
Especially during COVID.
Yeah, that's what all these P words have been substitutes for.
Pineapple was a subject. I love that.
For the pandemic, yes. It's an old pandemic meme. Because people were calling it everything but the pandemic. But
something that really upsets me is like everyone who wanted that, like everyone dies ending, like you do realize we don't get that beautiful moment between Reiner and his mother where it's like, I'm glad you're not the Armored Titan because you are all I ever wanted.
Same applies to Annie and her dad. Same applies to
Gabby and Falco finally getting the chance to actually have
a childhood.
Yeah, a childhood.
Levi getting to surrender his heart one last time.
Oh my god.
Just so much good. And I get it, right? Like some people wanted this really, really edgy thing, which I saw this random thing online that was like Isayama had written the ending for so long that he felt like it lined up with what Aaron was experiencing, where he felt like he had to end it this way because that was the initial ending that he had written, and he could have gone for something happier or something like that, but he chose to like keep moving forward with what he was getting, so he felt like he was in the same position as Aaron.
Yeah, I remember that interview.
I really like when authors feel like they're constrained by the story they've created, because it means they respect their own art enough not to just like change it just because feeling or
Aaron just spoke to Isayama.
Like, there's a certain level of, because like the thing closest I can think of with like MHA is like Hori when he talks about like overhaul arc, where he's talking about how tragic it is, like how Aries being treated, but he never stops making her struggle. Like he doesn't midway through the arc have overhaul be like, I've completed my bullets, Aerie. get out of here. It's like, no, like the whole way through.
That would be the type of writing that certain MHA fans would put in there. I'm just saying.
That'd be the remake.
Overall
version.
has the weirdest shooters, I'll just say. But
Bro, they were like, he's using us, but he's transparent about it. And that's the best we can hope for in life, which is really just a reflection of how horribly society like cast them aside.
Yeah.
but yeah, my final Attack on Titan thoughts were
have you guys seen the meme of Eren is Tupac, Mikasa is Jada Smith, and
oh my god, yeah, I saw that.
Oh,
Pete is Will Smith.
Oh my gosh.
That is sinister.
That is
hilarious, but sinister.
Sinister.
Yeah, no, my final Attack on Titan thoughts are that, you know what, other people like hate Eren, or what is it? Hate Eren because he was who they didn't think he was, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I hate Eren because he is exactly who he is. Like I hate him for who he is.
We are not the same.
We are not the same, exactly. Nah, I hate him for who he is. You hate him because he was who you didn't think so, or whatever. I don't know.
Personally, I prefer Eren when he's a whiny little bitch, and that's my Eren.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, he's a Gary Stew through and through. I hate his guts. Just don't like him at all.
I would say Gary Stew,
but people are free to
agenda.
have different opinions. Like Attack on Titan is written with shock value in mind, but I don't like how Eren is rewarded throughout the story with other people's praise. I feel like, especially early on, that it's really bad, where Eren will just pop off saying bullshit, and then people are like, "Oh yeah, kid, you know what's up." It's like, no, he doesn't. He's a whiny brat. But I understand that people that, you know, especially given the situation of the story and like the obstacles he has to deal with and like actually overcoming those, that's still really cool to see. Like I liked Attack on Titan a lot for at least half of it, until things started getting like a bit more until things started getting more in towards like the broader world commentary stuff, where I personally just could not get invested in. But because that's like a completely different premise, right? Like you have the fighting Titans thing, which is like really raw and awesome, but then you like delve away from that further and further until you get, well, you know, the conflict we did end up getting by the final. So to me, like that dissonance is what like put me off of Attack on Titan. Just the premise is not the same anymore. But still, though, like I understand like the entertainment value for it. But I personally just could not stand Eren. And once it started focusing away from like the actual appealing conflict of killing Titans, to me at least, that's when I sort of just my investment for the show like dropped off. But
this man said I wanted a man versus nature type horror story, and you gave me politics, and I'm sad about it.
I've seen better in terms of the politics of Attack on Titan, generally speaking. Like there are actual World War II stories to read.
I will say the opening for this like final episode made me really miss like old Attack on Titan, like when Eren's like running in his old like fit, and it like he shoots up with the ODM gear to attack the Titan. That was sick. I really missed old Attack on Titan. I won't lie.
See, I only watched the first couple of episodes. It never really caught my it never really hooked me. But like then I would hear people talking about it, and I was like, wait, when did they start turning into Titans?
I was like, they did what?
Yeah.
Hold up,
What you mean?
See, and for me, I liked Attack on Titan's premise. I don't know if I feel like Eren is actually rewarded a lot earlier in the series, because I feel like he goes through a lot of shit. Like
a lot of people despise him and they fear him. He has to actually earn their trust throughout the entirety of the first season.
The thing is, I don't think it's well earned at all, because Eren mostly just whines. He really does. Like when he's being persecuted at the trial at the very beginning, he just mouths off, basically saying, "You're all being stupid. Just let me kill Titans." And like, it's not an interesting conflict. Like it's
I gotta disagree with you there, because
he's fighting brick walls.
With what we know about him,
literally.
Oh well, I mean. He's
like there's nothing interesting in the fact that, oh, they just won't listen to me, so I just have to yell louder than them or whatever. And then freaking Levi shows up and he's like, "Yeah, I like you, kid." And it's like,
Well,
I
Levi
I mean, he
beats the
shows
shit
up
out
and
of him
kicks the
first.
shit out of him. Yeah, exactly.
Which,
I
which is
liked
also
that
funny
part.
because that
I
started
liked
off-
that part, but Levi was just putting on a show.
they saw Levi beat the shit out of him, like a lot of fans, and that became like the most popular
Oh my
shit in the
God, don't talk
fandom
about
for
that.
like a few years.
I hate that so much.
It was so weird.
But yeah, no,
Although,
for me, it's
although when you
interesting when
see
you
some
actually
boys,
have to wrestle with like the conflict. Like Aaron, there was a huge gap between Aaron and the people and the culture within the walls and stuff. But that doesn't really get explored. That just gets overthrown. And
Well, it's
like
because
that's
the culture gap is caused by like the culture dissonance is a byproduct of effectively Aaron being from the hood. Like that's the best way I can explain it. Because actually, you've watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, right?
of course.
Yes.
So kind of like the Boxing Say situation.
There's no
The
war
people in the
Boston.
walls are the Earth King and all this other shit, vibing, doing whatever. And Aaron's all the way at the outer walls, people who can't ignore the war, can't ignore all the consequences. So they're just like, it's kind of like when fucking the Earth King was like, there's not a war.
No,
There's
I
no,
get
come
that
on. So
conflict.
it's
Like I
like,
get that. Like
There
they
is no
are
war
coming from
Boston
different.
say.
Right, no, I get that. Like that part I understand, but what's just not interesting is that there is no actual like there is no through line, like a connection between like instead of everyone banding together to fight Titans, it's really just this one kind of group doing it and everyone else is kind of an obstacle. And that's sort of the whole way through the series. It's the like the conflicts could be more interesting, but to me they're not really. I mean, it's an action series, so like I don't necessarily need the deep philosophical or the shonen. We got to come together and become on the same side on this.
out of curiosity,
I don't necessarily need
how do you
that, but
generally feel about stories that have like nobility in them? Like, is that typically one that you gravitate towards or not?
oh, I think it. The thing is, there's so much tropes with nobility storylines. Like
Yeah,
there
like
is
that's why I'm
something
asking because I feel
romantic
like
about it, like generally speaking. Like there's a romantic aspect of it, and then there's like a totally uh, like
because I
you
feel
could
like it's just
have a
hard
more
to.
interesting middle ground route, but I think too often it's either romanticized like classically
Yeah,
or like more modern, it's villainized in its entirety. And there's not really a good in between of like just how do we make this system of governance work, how much compromises can we make, things that actually require some interesting dialogue, I think.
because I think with
I'm not a fan of like a nobility structure, like in terms of like monarchies
yeah,
and stuff,
because I
like
think that's
obviously
where
no.
that's I was saying that because I think that's where like it's coming into for you because it's like ultimately it's a classic case of nobility basically trying to do whatever they can to preserve what power they have, even if it costs more people their futures.
Correct, and I understand that, and I
So
understand why
yeah, I
that
feel like
can
you're
be
just like
entertaining
I've
to
had that enough.
watch.
I've
Like
been through that.
no, it makes good villainy, or well, I wouldn't even say good villainy. I would say like paper thin villainy. It's not interesting to me. I don't care that the king doesn't care
Yeah,
about everyone else. Like, okay, what if the king actually cares about other people and he's just trying his best and maybe there is something better that we can do? Like, it's much harder to do that kind
so
of
you
thing.
like the Earth King?
Yeah,
Like the
yes, kind of. I mean, the Earth King was just straight up ignorant.
I
yeah.
I gotta
So
go
that's
through
its
him.
own different kind of
Yeah.
thing. But at least at least that was a more interesting dynamic, like the shadow government and trying to bring things
Yeah,
to light into more legitimate.
I wasn't
Uh,
being literal in the Earth King, but just like you'd prefer that style at least, where the head nobility is at odds with some another party, and that's what creates the rift between at least that section of nobility and the common folk.
I think 2-bit villains have their place for sure, but like in terms of like a grander conflict, I am very bored with like just with at least with the way Attack on Titan handle it. I just was very unplussed. I was bored by it. It's like, yeah, you got to kill the bastard because he's a bastard. So or overthrow the bastard because he's a bastard. It's like, okay.
And say, can y'all please stop being short-sighted idiots, please?
Right, exactly. And it's also just very preachy and I know more than you when I'm just a 16-year-old child kind of thing. Like, I didn't like that at all. Like, there was that whole gathering was a bunch of people from a bunch of different backgrounds. You had the religious background, you had the business background, there were a few others there too. And it's like, okay, it would be really interesting to flesh out your world and try to either align these interests or line up interests and knock them down when they are just not compromising. It's more interesting to set that up, but Attack on Titan avoids all of that at every opportunity.
This man is disenchanted for the same reasons I feel like Gege can't do politics.
You had to get your shot in. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's true though. It's a very disillusioned way of looking at the world, and there's an appealing sense to that if you're disillusioned, especially if you're young and you don't really understand how the world works. And there's a point to where even when you're older and you understand how the world works, and you still hate it.
I mean, like, isn't that the whole point with Eren though? Is like there's this big, like there's this block that prevents him from like really.
Yes. No. Eren's biggest.
Honestly.
Yes, Eren's biggest.
I mean, like, and
is brick walls.
That's the thing that even leads to the rumbling in the first place. It's like
I love that
he couldn't think of any solution aside from wiping out 80% of the world, and he would have kept going had they not stopped him.
Well, that's the shock value element of the story that I got tired of too. Like, things happen.
Eren
gets pushed in a corner so that he can choose the quote unquote edgiest outcome.
I wouldn't call that shock value though, because like there is. Like, it's clearly shown to be wrong, and like the characters own up to like all the different mistakes, like the people who are bombarding Eren's wall of colossal titans when he's like about to reach the base where all those people are with Annie's father and all of them, like the tragedy of it.
Oh no,
I didn't find that was being used for shock value. I think it was just like it was genuinely a very, very horrible thing.
No, in fact, a lot of the elements of the story that I find that are not directly tied to glazing Eren in some way are really good. Sometimes I feel like certain things glaze Eren a bit, but like a lot of the elements of the story.
I gotta disagree with you there, because I mean, Jean. The way I looked at it was I always looked at Jean as kind of like, because he in a lot of ways he was the most normal member of that.
Oh no, I liked Jean a lot,
and he was always the one who, like, I think who had this pulse on what Eren really was. Like, he knew all along, and I kind of look to him, and like, and especially at the end with this anime finale where Armin says, "Okay, we're going to hell together. Like, this is because of both of us."
That's a much better line. That is a much better line.
And I felt like that
instead of thanking Eren, which is like peak what I'm talking about when I say that people bend over for Eren. Why I feel like Eren is a Gary Stew. It's that kind of tendency for Isayama to do. It's like, thank you, Eren, for being a mass murderer for our sake, for committing genocide. Thank you. Like, that's the kind of stuff where I'm like, piss off. Like, actually hold Eren to some accountability. And I feel like too many within Attack on Titan.
I don't think it's presented quite as positively as you're presenting it though, because like people bending over backwards for him and letting him get more power is specifically what let him form the Jaegerists, create all those problems in the last few arcs. So I don't think it's really a good thing that's ever been highlighted. It's just shown to us because that's how the story progressed. You know? So anyway, I do have to go through Attack on Titan again at some point. I'm not going to do it anytime soon because like the release schedule has been exhausting for this show.
Attack on Titan final season part 6,
and like
the second half, 5th Electric Boogaloo.
No fault of the staff because they were doing their best to get it done. This is specifically why Wit refused to do the final season in the timeline they were given. It's like, you can't do it in that time.
This is why I'm thankful and respectful of the MHA timeline, like how that's being handled. Like, even though I would want some more spectacle here and there,
it's a happy medium,
right?
Like,
exactly.
You still get like the absolute important moments. And by the way, it drives me nuts when people act like the show is not animated well, specifically because like they focus on like specific moments, and they do this thing where like they hold it up to the manga as like, look at the difference in detail. I'm like, you're comparing like at most like 19 pages of a manga, sometimes 15 or 17. You're comparing that to an individual episode that adapts 2, 3, 4, or 5 chapters at a time and has to draw and animate and string together all of these different frames, sometimes animated on 2s, sometimes animated on 3s.
Right.
And it's like
no, it's insane to do that.
You just can't compare them. So why are you trying?
Right. No, like there's always going to be like at best you get like each episode will have 1 or 2 standout cuts, and in the manga that's sort of like that too, where I mean Horikoshi's a legend for being what he is, but like you'll have like a couple pages, or lately even more than that admittedly, but still like not every single page is going to look like an art piece. You pick and choose the pages that are going to pop off, and the same is true with animation. So no, like Bones isn't running a sweatshop, so like I don't expect I don't expect like the most incredible feats of Sakuga from a weekly anime. I admit though, but yes, I would like to see however they're doing One Piece, they do it with MHA, but obviously whether it's the production or Shueisha or just however, they're not putting quite the same amount because they figure it's MHA, it'll probably sell well almost regardless.
The trick to One Piece?
Anaki, can I say something before you say?
Yes.
Oh well, yeah, One Piece. I just meant that
this may
One
lead
Piece
into you. It's very upsetting seeing people who view the weekly anime of One Piece and view, oh, maybe they do it like so effortlessly. I was like, no, they don't.
I would say that, okay, so what I was going to say is that One Piece actually sacrifices quality a lot to do what it does. And what it has done with Wano.
Yeah, because it was Japanese. That's why they had to put some money in Japanese stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
hey,
the reason why I say that, the reason why I say that though is because during a lot of Wano, you would get like 3-4 episodes and a recap episode.
Yeah,
you get 3-4 episodes and a recap episode. And then so it's like you would get a lot of random recap episodes, like a lot of random recap episodes during Wano, especially once we got towards the raid. So like as far as like a week-to-week viewing experience, there were plenty of weeks where it was like, this episode isn't even worth watching. Why would I bother doing this?
Facts.
And some
That's
stuff,
true.
like Kaido's finish was stretched across multiple episodes. Like, this man got punched. Like, they started the punch, and it's fine because, like, in the manga, we actually take some time to see people's hopes and wishes and shit like that. But they stretch that into the full episode because One Piece has one of the worst page rates for adaptations.
You're lucky to get like a full chapter for
now. And I remember somebody was like, "That's a terrible way to try to measure." It's like, no, the fuck it isn't. You're just being the disingenuous dick. Because like
that's one chapter, one episode. That's one. It's this one chapter, one episode. Sometimes that's what they do. No, that's what they.
You're lucky if you get a whole chapter of a One Piece episode.
Yep.
I mean, I definitely don't watch will never be convinced to watch the One Piece anime. There's just nothing you can tell me that about. Like, yes, it looks there are cuts from it that are amazing, but like I know how it's paced. Like,
just watch the particular episodes you want to.
That's legitimately what you just have to do. You have to be like, I want to watch this. I don't want to watch that. Because like, so when Luffy gets this bounty post Whole Cake Island, there's an episode that, for whatever reason, it only adapts 4 pages of a chapter where people are standing on a boat, looking at pieces of paper and talking about what's on the paper.
Mhm.
So okay, the One Piece anime was a bad example.
Like
But in
it's just
general,
what people like One Piece, like the One Piece, and that's not your fault, Seth, because you don't watch it. But like One
True.
Piece fans are so fucking disingenuous
Yeah,
with how
facts.
like One Piece anime is handled that I don't blame you for like being like they compared to what? It's
No.
like, they're full of shit when they do that.
No,
They're
hang
full
on,
of
wait.
shit.
Like, there's a better example to bring up. How bad, how horrible the Reverie arc was in the anime. And I
Really?
see people try to defend that.
oh my gosh.
The arc,
Badly
the manga
adapted.
arc was really good. I remember the manga arc was really good.
It's good. In the anime, it's unbearable.
Because it's split into 12 episodes. It takes 5 chapters. Like I think it was like 5 to 7 chapters. Makes them 12 episodes.
Oh my
And there was some
gosh.
cool scenes for Sabo added in. I'll give it that. But
Yeah, I
it's
think I
just
saw some cool
so
things.
stretched.
That's what Demon Slayer is gonna get with the next season, huh?
Probably not, because the thing is that like when you're a seasonal anime,
I know, I was
kinda-
joking. I was joking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but because like
No, they're doing it
the-
for a different. I mean, a similar reason. Actually, they're gonna milk it, but like,
yeah.
An arc a season, basically.
but like they're going. But it's a seasonal, so they're gonna have all, and they have all the money and definitely the talent to do
I know,
what they
but
need
like
to
they're
do.
gonna
I
try
wish
to
everyone
stretch
had
like
movies
8
first, though.
chapters into like 12, 13 episodes, and I'm just like this should like the next arc should have been included with Swordsmith Village.
Yeah, it's a very short arc too. It's not a very lengthy one.
No, like I said, it's like 8 chapters,
We're
maybe
at-
9.
Okay, here's
Yeah.
something.
I
to
wish
put
a
in-
UFO
Here's
table
something to put it in
adaptation on
perspective.
everyone.
We are rapidly approaching
That's
the
evil.
point where there are going to be more One Piece episodes than there are One Piece chapters.
Yeah.
That's absolutely terrible.
And it's not because of like, oh, filler. There's filler here and there, but it's how they stretch out the adaptation.
Yeah.
I'm still not past East Blue. I'm determined to keep watching the show, but it is slow going specifically because,
I think because like Giorno is reading One Piece and he watched up to what was it in pre-time skip? There was like a specific arc. I think Triller Bark,
Sabaody.
that's where he swapped. Was it? Okay, Sabaody. That's
It could
it.
be like right before time skip is Sabaody.
No, I was trying to pick an arc
Okay.
during the pre-time skip. I think it was Triller Bark they swapped to the manga, which I recommend.
Yeah.
You can watch all the way up to Marineford, which isn't that bad. I still think it's not a bad stretch.
I think Marineford's a good stretch. I think that's a good
Yeah.
stretch for the anime. But Zoe, read that shit. Because look, so I have some friends.
Mm-hmm.
They are of the furry.
I think you've told
variety.
this story before.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
sounds familiar.
I tried to
haven't
get
heard.
them into One Piece by showing them Zoe. Because I was like, this is right up their alley.
Oh,
Why did you show them Chopper?
And the first 3 episodes of Zoe are one chapter split into 3 episodes.
Yeah.
And it's just them climbing an elephant.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are episodes in what was it, Skypiea, where Luffy's just lost.
That's Zoro's thing.
That is Zoro's thing.
It's just there to fill a slot for a week.
Yeah. I don't know if it was Luffy and a snake, or was he like lost doing stuff? Like he was stuck in between buildings.
That
don't
was Water
remember.
7.
That was okay. Listen, there's a lot of stuff that's similar.
Yeah, you said that, and then it was like, well, and I'm like, damn, that's actually a lot of situations where Luffy's just stuck somewhere for a while.
And it feels so bad because people are like, the One Piece fans will accept that.
It's
but
a
the My
gender
Hero
norm.
fans will never accept Deku and Shigaraki currently.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, that's its own set of terrible.
Yeah, I don't want to get into all that again, but like I think something I've noticed with One Piece fans, a lot of the way a fandom acts is very much dependent on how old the people in it are.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look, subtract like all the 30-year-old women from the MHA fandom. Like that skews very young overall.
Yeah.
JJK, that's more of like the teen, mid-20s kind of range. One Piece, you got people in their 30s and 40s because they've been with this for a long, long time. And for many years, they got kind of bitter because, like stuff like Naruto and Bleach was taking all the spotlight while One Piece was not really getting that type of support. Yeah, the 4Kids dub, which really set it back. And, now that's like it's the era of social media. So now you find all these like-minded adults, but, I think they've been in this so long that it's very much agenda-based for them, like even more so than other fandoms.
Agenda piece.
Yeah.
Gender Piece is some of the most hilarious but also terrifying shit.
Have you seen the dragon video he put out?
Oh God, no.
Oh my.
Like,
Oh,
okay, the way
it's
everybody
funny.
decided Dragon was a fraud is embarrassing.
Mm.
It's like they can't contextualize it. Hi, you trying to cover your dad's
Why
house?
isn't Dragon going ahead and like rescuing? It's got a whole freaking army to coordinate.
Not only that, but at the time, didn't he have like not that many people? Like, I don't expect Dragon to lead a whole
Yeah, they just pulled up and helped
crusades.
people. They weren't like. There's a reason. Like we see that, like they made it a point to say, like this is our active declaration of war.
Mhm.
So clearly they weren't ready for war back then.
Yeah.
If you're gonna raid the Celestial Dragons, you have to be ready for war. There's like such a weird lack of contextualization
I think
for a
it's also
series
people,
that needs it.
I think it's also a lot of people just like they feel for Kuma, so they are taking their anger out on Dragon, which is like I've seen people even say in like YouTube comments he should have pulled a Luffy with Marineford.
It's like,
I'm
bro,
like,
no, that's not what he should have done. Who's that baby? Yeah, you get
it
it.
is
Genie.
peak, by the way, Spectral. That 4Kids rap is the best.
Yeah. Might have given us Lollipop Sanji.
Brooklyn Sanji.
Brooklyn Sanji is the best though.
He
Yo,
peaked,
Giza.
he peaked with 4Kids.
I still find it funny
it's
how
is, like,
Sanji's everything now.
Hi.
I think it like 4Kids before One Piece, they had a pretty good reputation, and their reputation got tanked by a series that, by all accounts, they did not even want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, 4Kids still had its reputation like still intact because of like everything they still had. But that was a big miss from 4Kids.
Like by all accounts, they even wanted, like they had, like in order to get something they wanted, they had to take One Piece, and with the contracts, they had to air it on TV, and then they had a series that does not really work for a company that's in the time slot for a company called 4Kids.
Yeah.
Guys,
Especially
especially
in that era, and like that was like the Saturday morning cartoon era.
guys, sorry to. I'm gonna leave, so I just wanted to say my piece of the chapter.
Oh yeah,
Please do.
So yeah, this chapter was really good. In general, we there's like a parallel between Bakugo in the first chapters of the story, and All for One. That was really interesting. They had the same words about someone being a pebble in a way, but why is this pebble just how can I say it? This pebble is just disturbing their mind. Like Bakugo thought about Deku in the beginning that he should have been just a pebble in his way to greatness, and now you have the same thing with All for One. It was really fun because they even used the same word, the word pebble, and the fact that we see how how All for One really. But my theory about All for One wanting just to be together with his brother is really the thing that I think is really true then, because he's still angry about the singing user. His name is Kudo. Hello. So yeah, it was really interesting to see how I even as a still being a kid now, because he's going back to being a kid, that he still goes back to that memory of his brother. And yeah, I can't wait to see what's happening next. Bakugo still being a goat. I knew that he would be able to use his sweats all over his body, but yeah, using the pain as for the time being, this guy he likes torturing himself because I can imagine how painful it can be. So using every signal in his body to get to move, I can't wait to see what's happening next. And yeah, great chapter. I hope that you all guys had a good time too on this one. But yeah, that was everything I wanted to say. Now I have to take care of my family and stuff. So yeah,
Stay
Take care,
safe.
Fonzie.
You're the best, bro.
yeah.
Have a
Ciao, take
good
care of
day.
you guys. Have a good day too. Bye.
Bye.
So I was actually leaning towards heading into a wrap-up phase because we were doing that thing where we're way off MHA anyway.
Yeah,
So
that
the feeling like that usually means we're pretty
Just
good
not
on
a
it.
whole lot to talk about this week, I felt.
Yep. So, but that being said, let's start going around the horn. Joseph, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. This was a fun chapter. It's fun to see. Hold on, I'm sorry, I'm just like so sleep deprived.
It's okay. Let's get you a nap.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's a good chapter. Some really good action in this one. I think it's concerning that like All Might is like still on the ground. Like, do you think Blood Curdle hasn't worn off, or do you think he might actually be paralyzed now after what happened?
Oh, in that regard, I think he's just fucking donezo. Like, homie's
I mean, he was almost ripped in half, so you know. But yeah, I am anticipating that the public is going to latch onto the Kacha name despite Bakugo's rejection, but I guess we'll see. So yeah, good chapter. Sorry, I was distracted by you getting slobbered on.
I think we're all getting distracted by it.
So yeah, that's my piece.
That one piece, but I don't know. It was a bit too quiet.
Yeah. Someone else can go. I don't have anything else to add. So
Anarchy, I can't hear you. No, can't hear you.
Are you muted? Is your mic okay? F in the chat for
difficulties.
Aniki.
Yeah.
hold on.
Oh, we
shit.
can hear you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Hey,
Yeah.
okay, I was gonna say, Steph, it's your turn. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
my mic was just being funny after getting beat up by the baby.
All right. So let's see. This was a good setup chapter. I like that things kind of wound down a little bit because of the highs from the previous chapters. So not that there's no tension or anything. It's just there's a lot of monologue and dialogue as well. Well, not so much dialogue, mostly monologue this chapter. So yeah, I like that we're pulling back a bit before getting ready to really dive into the climax. So the seeing everyone or seeing most of everyone was nice. They didn't show anything from Gunga, surprisingly, despite how big of a battlefield that was. So I don't know if I'm sure there's really nothing left there to go off of because everyone was like wiped. But yeah, no, they didn't give a status update on Gunga, which may or may not be interesting later. Let's see. But we did get that tease with Gashly, and I'm like, ooh, what are you cooking, author? Please tell me. No, I really I'm really happy to see because that is such a gruesome backstory for a character name and potentially ability. So I really hope we get a nice treat with that, whatever Horikoshi's got up his sleeve. And let's see. Yeah, we see on top of the hospital. I'm glad Nagant seems okay. But most of the chapter is on All for One and Bakugo here. But the I did want to say the second user bit is interesting for Deku. And I am concerned that he is apparently on his quote unquote last use of that quirk. I hope we get a bit more on that, just the mechanics of it. Like I'm still not fully certain. It looks like, yeah, it is immobilizing for him, but like it just in terms of how it plays out in the fight, I really just want to see Deku versus Shigaraki, quite frankly. So I'm sure most any questions will be answered by then. The thing that I really like about the Bakugo focus, though, is the focus on pain and how that's used here again, which obviously ties into how Deku has used pain before. But this is more mechanically interesting. So he's like finding where it hurts the most in his body, and that's where that's how he's controlling his explosive output. That's really, I mean, it's raw, but geez. But I actually really like that. The way he's fighting through the pain and actually using it to improve himself. That's very on the nose, but still really cool. I like it. I've already been at length about how All for One and Bakugo are parallels for each other, but what interests me is the backstory All for One has with the second user. Um, Again, hoping we get more from that, but I think it's a really interesting trauma response where he seems to have locked away his hatred because it reminds him of that day, and that's kind of interesting to me. Like, I wonder where the author goes with that. And yeah, no, I'm glad that the chapter ends and it looks like All for One, Bakugo now has All for One's attention. So that means we're due for a proper fight. Like, All for One's not gonna run away anymore. He's actually gonna give Bakugo the time of day. So I'm looking forward to actually where this goes. And yeah, this is obviously a great moment for all characters involved. So I'm really looking forward to the next chapter. As usual, thanks for having me. It's always fun to discuss. We didn't get to talk about Kagurabachi or Mama Yuyu today. But both of those chapters I think were good. This is actually a really good chapter of Kagurabachi. So I'm looking forward to the next fight because they introduced some interesting stakes that I wasn't expecting. So I'm glad that the series is getting a bit deeper on that front. And yeah, so anyways, see you guys next week.
Hey, I appreciate your time, Steph, and I agree. Actually, the Kagurabachi chapter was very nice, especially because like my little snipe at Gege says, I kind of like when like the sociological and like political stuff actually moves towards the front of the battle, like the plot. So the history of his dad getting questioned due to
Yeah.
their conflict alone. I'm like, oh, dog, don't do him like this because he already lost his father, and now you're gonna. But I'm like, you know what? And I also like the fact that there was like a little extra contextualization to Chihiro because as much as he seems like just the edgy badass, like the second he had to factor in collateral like other people, he was still like, no, like this. So it's like you're seeing that heart under the I wake up with fresh hatred exterior. And it just kind of adds that layer to his character, lets you know that a lot of this is trauma talking. And like it's obvious, but like when people were dunking on it, it's like they weren't accepting that, like, yeah, trauma talks, like, and it's gonna make, and it was just kind of written off as it being edgy, but it's like, no, like he's just in a really messed up space and place from what he's gone through. So I appreciated that. And Mama Yu as well, of course. I've been liking
Yeah,
how
it
that
was
one's been shaping up.
well, yeah, it was an interesting use of the villain because Sojo is like literally whatever, like who cares kind of. He's like there's almost, but what they do is they tie it back to Chihiro's dad, and that's really smart because that is an emotional crux for Chihiro, and then you're seeing this twisted take on that, and that's just a really good way. So this is good for literally everyone involved, like the theme, any theme the story might have or want to tell, the main character and this current antagonist. Even if I don't care about the antagonist so much, I care about like that Chihiro and his relationship with his dad. So this is a good way to tie that in. So and Mama Yu Yu was more of a setup chapter than anything else, but it was still nice. Looks like we're getting a new character, a new hero character, and the bad guy is clearly making some moves. I like how all for one coded he is.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I call
Volk
him
and I actually
all
talked about
for
that.
one
He's
of the UX.
definitely an all for
Like-
one love letter.
Yeah, I like that. Like it's being handled pretty well so far.
People
but-
slander all for one the whole time, but I've never seen an Aizen 2 specifically. We just got all for one 2. How about that?
I
All for
am
One is
not going to
still in the-
speak because I don't want to be grilled by people who like Aizen.
I like Aizen. It's just
War, Civil War.
No, I'm not talking. I'm done. You see, my piece is over.
Volk, your turn.
Okay. It was a good chapter. A couple of translation quirks I'm sure would be I'm sure there's like some sort of context that could be added in to make a little more sense. I like that, it is coming back around to like chapter 1 where it started with Deku, Bakugo, and All Might kind of like all introduced at once, and it's all coming back together in a full circle. And like I like how All for One is like constantly being tripped up by extra characters. Deku and Shigaraki, they've been posing for like however long.
They're cover girls, okay?
It's been almost like a full year of them just like doing their fight. But we'll see what happens. Your daughter's adorable, Nikki. Yeah. And I like getting an update on all the other battlefields because I think that puts everything into perspective and it gives us like a kind of a clear, like the end goal is very much in sight. Like I remember Horikoshi saying like at the end of 2022, he's like, "Ah man, like the end goal is in sight. Just stick with me a little while longer." I'm like, dude, it's still gonna take you a minute to get where you need to go, but now this really does feel like this is it. This is the absolute final stretch. I didn't get to talk about it really this stream because of how the conversation went, but Deku initiating gear shift, and this is the last time. I think is going to need some sort of last minute help. And I've pushed this theory before, and I'm not entirely sure how exactly it plays out. I still think New Order Star and Stripes quirk is going to end up a factor here. I've speculated about how that could go. I acknowledge that, like that would be a crazy last minute twist, but I also think some people are not really accounting for the possibility like they should, because Horikoshi has thrown in little wrenches and hints like that before that we don't really realize when they debut, but then we realize relevance later. So I'm just saying, watch out for that. I'm really excited to see about the second user. I want to learn more about him. I want to learn more about the third user. Just next chapter will suffice, and then we can then we can keep going. I love the evolution of Bakugo's power. That's really cool. And yeah, pretty happy with the direction we're going in.
All right. Thomas, take us home.
Hello. Okay. I just want to give a shout out to, I believe it was Joseph, who mentioned when Gear Shift was first shown, you mentioned something along the lines of you really want to see it like applied into Air Force. And like that's always been on my mind for the longest, because Air Force has been this Deku technique that I love the pieces, but it's not used as much as I need it to be used. Because you know what? I like compressed air. I like air, like characters who use air, like Aang. Super cool, by the way. The trailer for that actually great. But I am really excited to see what Deku has in store to try to get around how powerful Shigaraki is, because like he said, like he doesn't know how to deal with Shigaraki's body and the fact that he can regenerate, and then like he has decay, which means instant death. I'm really excited to see, and especially because when you see his finger, it definitely seems like he's combining gear shift with Air Force. I'm really happy to see that. I'm really like, I get why people are like impatient with Deku versus Shigaraki. I get it, but there's so much to this war, to every battlefield that I do feel for Hori, because you can't just like sideline Deku and Shigaraki's fight, because they have to clash. Like Shigaraki will kill people. So it's really hard to find a way for Deku to arrive Ichigo style or Goku to Namek, but also having it believable that Shigaraki didn't kill people, but he killed people beforehand. And I've seen people say they really want consequences for gear shift, like Cameron Bailey said. There will be, like, it's coming, like what Deku said. It's Jover once this final use of gear shift is over. And I assume, which I agree with Volk, there's definitely gonna come, like, there'll definitely be help brought to Deku. I don't think it's New Order. I do think you're a bit of a mad scientist right there, but I respect the agenda. I love Bakugo in this chapter, like the new full cluster, full cluster. Explorer, I can't pronounce that, but I like that too. Full cluster, combine the two. Fuck it, give the Buku Dukus some love.
Dukus.
I heard another one, but I can't remember it. But I like that one. Overall, it's a great chapter. I just kind of wish it wasn't bogged down by drama with the the translations, when in fact some of the
Dude, that's been a
translations in
thing
the
for like,
scans was a bit whatever. Like, did you really think instant debt was another way for the K to be called? I don't like.
dude, that's been a thing for like the past month or so of chapters.
It's so exhausting. I just want to talk about the
Like
chapters.
it's just I'm gonna be honest, I think we all pay that more attention than it really deserves, because in the long run, that all blows over and nobody remembers it.
Yeah. But
Like,
I remember, and that's all that matters to me. But also,
like 10 years from now, nobody is going to be watching the MHA show or sitting down to read it and be like, "Oh man, you guys remember when the fan translators started beefing with half the fandom?" Nobody's gonna remember that.
That's true. You're right. Also, I see people talk about how, like, because like you had the idea, Aniki, that it's Majestic's quirk that All For One was using to like propel himself forward, like the circles. I've seen people now bring up Koichi. I'm like, why can't it just be how Hori like draws repulsion? Like, he's using it to blast through the air. Like, it does look similar, it does act similar, but it doesn't have to be the same quirk.
No, it doesn't have to be those quirks. It's
Yeah,
just something that I was like, well, Majestic did die, and I don't know if he can pull quirks off corpses or not. It seems
that'd be really cool to figure out if we do get an All For One like backstory in the next few chapters, which I would like. I don't need it, but I also need it. I kind of want, I want the best of both worlds. But overall, it's a fantastic chapter. That, like, those 2 pages of the Go Beyond, oh my god, so good. I also seen Bakugo just, launch himself through buildings. That was funny. Overall, great chapter. 10 out of 10. Like always. Well, not like always, but you know what I mean. Hail Hori. I hope everyone likes the stream. Drink water, eat some food, because I'm eating pizza right now. I'm chilling. And that's it.
All right. I want to thank everybody that came through, including Fonzu, who's not here right now. Everybody who came through in the chat. One last thing that I did want to say, I think it's kind of ironic, is that Shigaraki's whole story, he's been like, damn, if somebody had reached out to me, shit would be different. And All for One's biggest regret is somebody reaching out to his brother. And I just think it's like an interesting contrast between the two characters, one lamenting the idea of reaching out, and furthermore, the fact that like his greatest machination of taking over his body is going to be at least partially defeated by the person he reached out to, showing that like every extension or bond that All for One builds is destroyed and breaks him down, which is kind of like almost like a sad justification for why he became the way he is. But the way he is also part of why that happens. So it's kind of like a weird chicken egg thing where it's like, is it because you're a piece of shit, or did you become a piece of shit because of this, like your bonds constantly leading to you suffering?
Are you the shittiest
know.
person because you're All for One, or are you All for One because you're the shittiest person?
Now I want a nod win pair of All for One. But
I mean, have you seen the I'd win
of the bunnies?
We need that.
I saw the bunny.
Oh, the bunny. I love the bunny one. It's so good.
That was good.
The bunny one and the Jogo one.
JJK fans have us beat with memes, I'm not gonna lie.
No, we had very good memes. It just died down. I kind of want a resurgence.
Yeah. So yeah. But yeah, thank you everybody. And that's gonna be the end of the stream. Appreciate everybody's time though. We're out.
Yes, sir.
Goodbye, Jeannie.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.